All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to the Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guys, Trevor Twidwell and Eddie Ortiz.
Yo.
Episode 205 in full swing, full motion. We are so happy to be here with you guys and for you to be here with us, whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you're YouTubing. We want to thank you so much for being with us in this time as we are going to break down so much when it comes to the Super Bowl 55 or 57. Chiefs versus Eagles. We have so much to get to. We have so many takes to get to. There's even a rumor that one of us might actually be picking the Eagles in this game. So stay tuned for that. We also have the Eddie Hour to get to. We're going to hang out some L's. We have so much to get to, guys. So I don't want to waste your time. But please, like I said at the very top of this, if you've not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you're watching on YouTube, you might as well hit the subscribe button. You might as well hit the notification button. So that way, every single time we go live, you hear us, you see us, and you can jump in with us in the chat. And that is something we definitely recommend for everybody that wants to be a part of this. Hit us up in the chat. Let us know what you guys are thinking. What's going on in the world of sports for you guys? How do you see this matchup going between the Chiefs and Eagles? So much to talk about, and I'm so excited to finally talk. We're talking about the Chiefs' third Super Bowl in 4. We started the show in February of 2019, and we've talked about 3 Super Bowls in that 4-year stretch. And it has been nothing short of incredible for us here at the Spoken Podcast. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with us. If I sound like I'm a little bit under the weather, that's because I am. And the world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is a very funny place because it decides somebody that doesn't ever get sick like myself decides to give me a sickness right in the middle of Super Bowl week. So I'm going to thank the Mother Nature, universe, whatever the hell is in control of all this stuff that we call life. I want to thank them for that. So, but you know what? They didn't stop me. You know, Michael Jordan doing his gambling boat trips and, late nights and Utah didn't stop him from playing really well in Game 6 against the Jazz. I got my Scottie Pippins right here, man. We're ready to party, we're ready to tango. But I want to start where we should start, and it's not actually in the Super Bowl. Actually, what I want to do is I want to congratulate one Patrick Mahomes for winning his second NFL MVP. Season MVP. He's already got a Super Bowl MVP. He's about to work on a second on that as well. But before we get to that, definitely want to congratulate him on that because of the fact that this man just had one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen a quarterback have in NFL history. And the most impressive thing about this is what Patrick Mahomes has done in such a short time. What I mean by that is we know there's a list of all-time great quarterbacks. We were going to list them off in just a second, but what Patrick Mahomes is doing in such a short time is unlike anything we have ever seen in the history of the NFL. What I mean by that in this particular aspect is when it comes to winning your second MVP, most quarterbacks, even the all-time greats, and by the way, I think there's only been 7 or 8 quarterbacks total that have ever won multiple MVPs in NFL history. But of those quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes is the youngest. For instance, these quarterbacks won their second MVPs at this age. Joe Montana was 34. Steve Young was 33. Tom Brady was 33. Aaron Rodgers was 31. Kurt Warner was 30. Peyton Manning was 28. Brett Favre was 27, almost 28. He was a few months removed. And Patrick Mahomes, who turned 27 at the beginning of this season, just won his second MVP. Now, I watched the entire awards ceremony with Trevor. A lot of those awards, we were totally in lockstep with the NFL about Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Brian Dable, Nick Bosa. I didn't agree with the Justin Jefferson one because I felt that Patrick Mahomes should have won Offensive Player of the Year as well because he also won that in 2018, and this is a very comparable season. Also, with Justin Jefferson having fewer receiving touchdowns than Jerick McKinnon this year, it's hard for me to say that was the best offensive player in the NFL this year. I'm sorry.
Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I don't think he was the best offensive player in the league this year.
I do.
When you have fewer touchdowns than a third-string running back, it's hard for me. It's hard for me to do that. Josh Jacobs, honestly, so I would listen to Christian McCaffrey.
He didn't get nominated.
Yeah. Geno Smith getting comeback player of the year was very confusing to me because of the fact that he's not coming back from anything other than being a backup. Christian McCaffrey suffered a severe injury last year. So did Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
They should have been comeback player of the year.
Well, if you read the description of how players get that award.
Yeah.
Comeback player of the year includes players that had a terrible season last year, and then they obviously got better this year.
Geno didn't play last year,
but that's what I'm saying. So you go from a bad season because you didn't even start to becoming a starter. So you become a comeback player of the year. You know,
but
so
I just think there's other guys that were far more deserving of it. Like I said, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick had a bad injury last year. It was an Achilles injury last year. Comes back and has been one of the best pass rushers in football for the Philadelphia Eagles, which, by the way, has a great story because he grew up literally right over the bay of Philadelphia when he was a kid. Harsh environment. Tom Rinaldi had a great story on it. The point I'm making, though, is the majority of these awards I agreed with.
Outside of Sean McDermott getting in there over Sirianni.
Yeah, I didn't. The nominees could have been better, but the majority of the awards who they went to was, I think, the right deserving recipient.
Yeah.
But see, I don't want to sound like I'm crying over spilt milk here, but there's a real problem when a quarterback that had the season that Patrick Mahomes had and the context that he had it in didn't win it unanimously. See, I understand. I can process why somebody would have voted for Jalen Hurts. The way he got one out of it, and people were trying to flip it and say that was it was unfair. See, the problem for Jalen Hurts was not only did he miss multiple games this season, but his backup quarterback scored 34 points in his replacement on the road against their biggest rival, the Dallas Cowboys, a 13-win team, or was it 13-win team? But also the fact that when Jalen Hurts was healthy, in lockstep with Patrick Mahomes was dominating him in production, dominating him. Patrick Mahomes had more passing yards before Jalen Hurts got injured. He had more passing yards than Jalen Hurts had total yards. So, and he had more passing touchdowns than Jalen Hurts had total touchdowns. And Jalen Hurts had 13 rushing touchdowns. So Jalen Hurts had a magnificent season. But in no way, shape, or form was he the MVP this season. But he would be the guy I would listen to. The fact that anybody else, not only anybody else got a vote, but Josh Allen got a vote, the same guy that led the league in turnovers, the same guy that was penciled in as the Super Bowl favorite with the Bills, the MVP favorite this year, failed the way he did, and he still got a vote. I said this before Nick read because I know people are going to say I tried to copy Nick, but I saw Nick hours after I tweeted this out on his show say the same thing, and I'm going to say it again. Whoever voted for Josh Allen should legitimately lose their vote. And it's not even because I'm a Patrick Mahomes fan. I think he should have got that vote. It's the fact that Josh Allen had no business getting that vote. If Jalen Hurts would have got 2 of those votes, I could live with that.
Or even if Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow. Thank you.
Got one
guys that were actually deserving of that.
6 weeks of the NFL season.
They went on a 13-game winning streak. They were on a huge. Joe Burrow was killing.
I'm saying the last 7 weeks he was on fire. Joe Burrow himself was on fire.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the point in all this is that for whatever reason, there's such a bias out there still. And now, obviously, Patrick got 48 of the 50, so we know the majority of people believed he was the MVP.
Yeah.
But when you have a guy that led the NFL in yards and touchdowns, broke the single-season total yards record for a quarterback, led his team to the 1 seed, their 5th straight AFC Championship home game, their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years after losing a superstar wide receiver while also having 8 rookies start, if that guy isn't the unanimous MVP, no one should be. We just saw 4 years ago, Lamar Jackson win unanimous MVP. What did Lamar Jackson do that season that Patrick Mahomes just didn't do? I'm sorry. Lamar Jackson, you want to call him a unanimous MVP? I can live with that.
Yeah, he deserved that.
But don't tell me he is, but Patrick this year wasn't.
Yeah.
You can't do that. It doesn't make sense.
I will say this, though. I don't think anybody looking back when we're talking about who had, when we look back on Peyton Manning's MVPs and things like that, we don't really ever question if he was unanimous or not. I don't think it's going to matter that much. I know it matters right now in the moment, and it feels disrespectful. The fact that Josh Allen is one of those guys that got that vote. I wouldn't have been that upset if Joe Burrow got one of those votes. I'm not going to lie, because he's a.
But that's what makes this even worse. Is the fact that
of ours.
Patrick not only didn't get the unanimous MVP vote, but Josh Allen got a vote.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I'm just saying, when we look back at this in like 10 years, we're not even going to like question. So was he unanimous? We're just going to question. Oh yeah, he was the MVP that year. Everyone knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I know it sucks and it feels like a slight in the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
He should have been unanimous MVP, is what I'm saying. And he would have been one of the 3 guys in history to ever get
just
unanimous
like LeBron
MVP.
when he never got a unanimous one when he should have numerous times. And there's always that Bostonian voter that just didn't like him because he was the Celtics, because he always shit on the Celtics.
Yep.
And the Steph Curry all of a sudden gets a unanimous one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
This is like, bro, LeBron deserves like 4 unanimous MVPs.
Yep.
And Steph gets his. Okay. He was never better than LeBron, but okay.
Regardless, we want to congratulate Patrick Mahomes. It was more than deserving. He made an absolute statement this year without Tyreek Hill. To lose a superstar receiver like that, and to not only not miss a beat, to add another beat to the equation, and to be even better than what you were a year previous, and to beat the team that beat you in the AFC Championship the year previous.
Well, and to have the most total offensive yards and to lead the offense with the most offensive yards and production in the league without having a 1,000-yard receiver. I know Kelsey had 1,000-yard receiving, but he's not a receiver.
Right.
Not a single receiver on this offense had over 1,000 yards. I know Juju probably would have.
He had like 933.
Yes.
Like that, yeah.
But that's crazy to think about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you think most teams would have at least 2, almost 3 guys with over 1,000 yards if you have that much production in the offensive league, the best offense in the league. And that means he's spreading the ball around to a bunch of guys that no one expected to be a part of this offense. Right. That alone itself that's so impressive, man.
Yep. Nothing short of it.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Super Bowl 57 to discuss. We had a lot of people at the beginning of the year were theorizing, Eagles, Bills, Bengals, Niners, Bengals, Eagles, Chiefs, Niners. There was like 4 or 5 teams that everyone was comfortable picking getting into the Super Bowl, and the Eagles were one of those teams. A lot of people were really high on them this year. Eddie was the one that was highest on it, absolutely nailed his prediction, going 14-3 this year. I didn't see them being that good because of the fact that I thought they were still a year away.
Defense.
I thought Jalen Hurts was still a year away. I didn't know what they were going to get. Yeah, that we did acknowledge that. We said the schedule was going to be something that was going to definitely help them. That's why I had them as a 10-win team, winning the division. Obviously, that wasn't the case. And the NFC East was unbelievably great this year.
Well, yeah, outside of the NFC East, though, the NFC was pretty watered down.
Horrible.
I mean, we saw how good the Vikings looked.
And
they caught us off guard.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that the Eagles also got to play the AFC South this year. One of the worst divisions, if not the worst division in football this year. So they had a lot of breaks go their way. And trust me when I say we're going to talk plenty about that. But let's strap in, guys, because I got some takes here. And I want to get right to this stuff because I think that the viewing and the listening audience deserve that because we know why we're here today. Despite the fact that Trevor and I are a little under the weather, Eddie had himself a fun night last night. We won't go into details of what took place, but let's just say Eddie had himself a Charlie Sheen experience, if you will. But needless to say, we all have had ourselves a week, okay? And we were still just as excited as if we were healthy individuals right now. We needed to get this one across because I need you guys to understand why we feel the way that we feel about the outcomes we see happening this weekend against the Chiefs and Eagles. And as I said, these are 2 of the most worthy candidates to be in the Super Bowl. In fact, this is one of the better matchups on paper that we have seen in a very long time. I would say that this is, like I said, one of the best matchups. And with the trends that have gone the way we did, Eddie, we were talking last night about some of the weird streaks and trends and things of that nature. This could be one of those games that maybe bucks some of the trends, in particular with the over-under. I believe now 4 or 5 straight Super Bowl games have gone on the under. So that could be something that maybe doesn't end up happening because I think the over-under right now is 51.5, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That could be something that,
depending on the book, it's 51.5, yeah.
So we can see some things breaking down. But speaking of this matchup, there's some interesting little things I want to get to before we actually talk about the teams going against each other. This matchup gives us the second largest age gap between both head coaches. Andy Reid is 64 years old. Nick Sirianni just turned 41. Since 2000, the older coach in the Super Bowl has gone 13-9. And since 2010, they've gone 9-4, and that includes Andy Reid over Kyle Shanahan at Super Bowl 54. I want to get to the biggest question, I think, of all this. I think we've focused so much on Patrick Mahomes' ankle. Everybody's been talking about that so much. Is he going to be healthy enough to escape the pocket?
Is he going to play?
Can he avoid the pressure? Like Charles Woodson's dumbass said last week about, I don't think he can play the whole game against the Bengals and has one of his greatest games of his career.
He did.
I think the thing we need to focus on more is Jalen Hurts in this game. And I'm going to break that down for just a second. And I have an interesting, maybe Trevor, you'll disagree with me. I already kind of touched on this with Eddie a couple of days ago. We're going to touch it. We're going to touch a lot of it. We're going to just up and down. But no, there's a comparison I want to bring up when it comes to Jalen Hurts and this Eagles team. And it has to do with the Chiefs. So, first and foremost, as a passing quarterback, Jalen Hurts is more of an Alex Smith than an elite quarterback. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm not saying, and let me go ahead and just bring it out. Jalen Hurts is significantly better than Alex Smith. That's not me saying that these two are the same player. But the style in which he plays and what he has to rely on is very similar to what Alex Smith was in his Kansas City tenure. So for 5 years, let me show you the comparisons, okay? 5 years he averaged in Kansas City a 65 completion percentage with 3,522 passing yards, 20 passing touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 7.2 yards per attempt with a 95 quarterback rating. This season, Jalen Hurts completed 67% of his passes, threw just over 3,700 yards with 22 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 8 yards per attempt with a 102 quarterback rating. And I know folks will say that, Hurts only played 15 games this year. But did you guys know that in 5 seasons of the Chiefs, Alex Smith only played 16 games once? He played 15 games all 4 another year. So the numbers are very equal in consideration, not to mention the fact that Jalen Hurts actually has better weapons around him than Alex Smith really ever had. Outside of a couple good years of Jamal Charles and Travis Kelce, who was nowhere near the player he is over the last 6-7 years, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith would have clearly been the best receivers that Alex Smith would ever have had.
Yeah.
And he has, let's be honest, good offensive lines in Kansas City early on for Alex Smith. This offensive line for the Eagles would be by far his best offensive line. I'm not even going to debate that. And again, Hurts is the better version.
Far better athlete.
But Alex Smith had a great strength and was being able to create with his feet.
Yeah.
We saw him do the NFC Championship against our NFC Divisional round against the Saints.
Boy, had legs.
Saw him do it for the Chiefs many times on third downs, with the Chargers.
Hell yeah.
That was something he was strong at. That's the same thing that Jalen Hurts is great at. Alex Smith never had a great arm. Jalen Hurts doesn't have a great arm. They're not really good at the deep ball when it comes to consistently throughout the season, throughout big games. Their strengths are pick and pop, and then go run out and create something with your feet. Very similar quarterbacks. And I think this comparison is more valid than some realize. Now, when it comes to the Chiefs side of things, I heard someone on 610 Sports Radio say this week, I don't remember who it was. It was one of the fill-in guys, so forgive me. I'm trying to give credit to where credit's due. I heard them compare this team to the 2015 Chiefs. An absolutely stacked roster from top to bottom. In fact, the defense was third in the NFL in scoring defense. The Eagles' defense this year finished 8th. So they actually had a better overall defense last year, even though the sack numbers are obviously in the Eagles' favor.
Scoring's up, I think, this year too, overall.
Sure, but I'm saying that Chiefs season, I'm going to break it down in a second, faced far better quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Far better quarterbacks. And they even had a lighter schedule compared to the Eagles' schedule.
It's hard not to face better quarterbacks in the schedule this season. Yeah.
The 2015 Chiefs also had the 9th-ranked scoring offense. They had a top 10 offense and a top 5 defense. The Eagles' offense this year was second overall, so they had a better offense. So it kind of washes out. The 2015 Chiefs team was a lot like this Eagles team, a talented bunch with a very favorable schedule that did not present them many challenges when it came to opposing quarterbacks. But when they did face that challenge, that opposing quarterback had one hell of a day. You should go look and check out Aaron Rodgers' numbers against that 2015 Chiefs team. Yikes. This went all the way into the wild card matchup with the Brian Hoyer-led Texans, who the Chiefs beat literally from the kickoff. Hoyer threw 4 interceptions, one on his first throw of the game, and the Chiefs rolled 30-0, despite Alex Smith doing essentially nothing. He went 17-22 with 190 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception with a 99 quarterback rating. That sounds an awful lot like the Eagles. Not being tested by the Giants, who clearly had no business being in the playoffs, then to the 49ers, somehow managed to lose all 4 of their quarterbacks, which is something I've never seen before, to injury. The Eagles have beaten the last 2 playoff opponents by a score of 69 to 14, despite Jalen Hurts putting up a combined 175 passing yards. The 2015 Chiefs beat their last 5 opponents by a total of 114-45. Alex Smith in those games averaged 167 passing yards. But a lot like the Eagles, the Chiefs ran into an elite quarterback the following week, and that was the one thing they could not overcome. No matter how deep they were as a roster, no matter how easy winning looked at times for those teams, they simply cannot overcome playing the best at the most important position. Did you guys know that the Eagles have not beaten a playoff team with a healthy quarterback since week 4 outside of the Giants? Since week 4.
They played the Jaguars for week 3, right?
Week 4. That was the last team they beat with a healthy. That was a monsoon game in Jacksonville.
They were terrible before. That was before they caught those.
The Jags they were nowhere near the Jags team that was at the end of the year. Yeah. They have faced only 2 good quarterbacks since week 5: Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. Yeah. And those quarterbacks put up 33 and 40 points on the Eagles defense. This Eagles defense is good. I am not trying to sit here and say they're frauds.
The defensive line is really good.
But so was that 2015 Chiefs defense. They were just as good, in my opinion. But they weren't good enough to beat Tom Brady. That's what happened the next week after they beat the Texans by 30. The Eagles defense, in my eyes, is not good enough to beat Patrick Mahomes. As we know, this game is being held at State Farm Stadium, which is in a dome. Do you guys know what Patrick Mahomes' career numbers in a dome are? Dome games in his career?
Probably don't suck.
Yeah, so the Chiefs are 8-0 in those games. He completed 64% of his passes.
Like that.
321 passing yards.
Better.
19 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. 7.6 yards per attempt with a 103 quarterback rating. Do you guys remember what Patrick Mahomes' numbers were in week 1 when the Chiefs played in that exact same state with a bunch of improved commodities in this offense? He was 30 of 39, 360 passing yards with 5 touchdowns with a 144 quarterback rating. And again, that was the first game these guys played together. The game I think this is going to resemble is the game that took place on that very same field in week 1. Cardinals defensive coordinator Vance Joseph blitzed Patrick Mahomes on 54% of their plays. That was 36 times. Joseph was quoted after that game stating that he knew that was their only hope of stopping Mahomes. While the Eagles don't blitz nearly as much this season as the Cardinals did, they were 10 behind the Chiefs for the most quarterback pressures in the league. They know they led the NFL in sacks by 15. We know that getting pressures on the quarterback is what makes their defense so good. Do you know what the Chiefs did against teams in the top 10 in quarterback pressures this season? They went 4-0. Do you know what the Chiefs did against teams in the top 10 in sacks this season? They went 3-0. And they scored 40 in 2 of those games. Over 40, I should say. Why have the Bengals always been the team over the last 12 to 15 months that won the Chiefs, in particular, Patrick Mahomes in particular, so much grief over the last, like I said, 12 to 15 months? Why is that? Was it because they had this incredible pass rush, blitzing all the time, hitting Patrick Mahomes left and right? No. It was because they dropped 8 defenders and made Patrick Mahomes be patient. They made him change his game. He literally had to change the way he played football.
There's a great quarterback on the opposing side.
Exactly. Thank you. That's not the Eagles' way. They don't play drop 8. They don't play conservative defense. They pin their ears back and they go get the quarterback because that's what's made them successful against bottom barrel backup quarterbacks this season. The Eagles' defense ranks 8th in scoring defense this year. They faced 5 of the top 10 offenses, and in those games they allowed 24 points per game. They allowed 19 points per game against everybody else. That is a 5-point difference. And I know what they've been saying in regards to the Eagles' ability to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes and how the Eagles come into this game with an advantage in the trenches. Well, first off, the Chiefs not only have the best defensive player in this matchup who happens to play in the trenches and Chris Jones, the Chiefs not only led the league in pressures and second in sacks despite facing Joe Burrow twice, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence twice, Justin Herbert twice, Tom Brady, Geno Smith, and Derek Carr. Their offensive line has actually outperformed the Eagles' offensive line this year. Let me tell you why. Sacks allowed this season, playoffs included, the Eagles 46, the Chiefs 29. But let's just say the Eagles force Patrick Mahomes to stay in the pocket and somehow not allow him to get out of the pocket and create that trademark Mahomes magic. It still doesn't give the Eagles the upper hand. And I'll explain why right here. So Mahomes in the postseason, and again, one leg. In the pocket, out of the pocket, he's 8 of 9 for 80, with an 89 completion percentage, 8.4 yards per pass with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Inside the pocket, he's still completing 67% of passes, 7 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. In other words, the Eagles are going to have to pick their poison, but either way, they're going to get poisoned. And when it comes to the Chiefs' defense and their game plan against Jalen Hurts, it's actually very simple. Make him throw. We've seen the Chiefs struggle against one particular dual-threat quarterback, and it's Josh Allen. But that was due to the fact that Josh Allen has an absolute missile launcher for an arm and is an elite thrower of the football. He's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in football.
He has the best deep ball.
Jalen Hurts is not Josh Allen. And not only is he not elite at throwing the football like a Josh Allen, his throwing shoulder is still very much banged up, and it's been evident over these last few weeks. I have to remember, guys, Jalen Hurts missed 2 games as he was resting that shoulder, and these are his numbers since his return compared to his first 14 games. So the first 14 games, he completed 62% of his passes, had 18 touchdowns to 3 interceptions with a 115 quarterback rating. Really good. Since then, he's barely completing 51% of his passes, has 0 touchdown passes to 2 interceptions with a 69 quarterback rating. The Chiefs have a defense that has shown us over the last 2 months that they can dictate what a quarterback can do against them and what they can't do against them. Look at these last 2 playoff games against better quarterbacks, and I know Eddie and I have had our debates. Trevor Lawrence is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts, a better thrower of the football than Jalen Hurts. He had against these 2 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. The Chiefs held those 2 guys to an average of 62 completion percentage, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, only 6.1 yards per attempt with a 72 quarterback rating. And both of these quarterbacks had a full stable of weapons. Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Hayden Hurst, Joe Mixon, Samaje P. Ryan, Christian Kirk, Ingram, all their weapons. Travis Etienne was there, and they held him to those numbers. Back-to-back playoff games. With Legarius Sneed in and out of the lineup, Willie Gay in and out of the lineup. Furthermore, the Chiefs' defense has been surprisingly dominant against dual-threat quarterbacks this season outside of Josh Allen. I'm not even including Josh Allen's numbers. Versus dual-threat quarterbacks this season, the Chiefs were 5-1. Their defense allowed 21 points per game, 195 passing yards, 123 rushing yards per game, but that didn't matter because they still went 5-1. The biggest misconception about this Chiefs defense is their passing defense and how they give up too many touchdowns. I was actually talking to how about those Chiefs, Cole Del Ruz. I'm butchering his name, and I apologize, but Cole, really good guy, good friend of ours. He was asking the same question about, are you a little concerned about the pass defense? I'm not concerned about the Chiefs pass defense, and I'm going to tell you why. I got the stat right here. Because yes, it is true that the Chiefs did finish dead last in passing touchdowns allowed. But there is context to the stat that many have not been made aware of or are simply refusing to acknowledge it. So the Chiefs defense did allow 33 passing touchdowns this season. 16 of those 33 touchdowns were allowed when the Chiefs had a double-digit lead. Mm-hmm. In other words, and it's obviously not ideal to give up passing touchdowns at any point of the game, but when you have a demanding and commanding lead over a team and they score a touchdown late in the game like we saw against the Jaguars, we saw against the Cardinals, we saw against the Buccaneers, we saw against many teams this season when the Chiefs had commanding leads. The Seahawks, I think, was one of them as well. Do they really matter? No, but they'll still go in the stat column, and it makes your defense look worse than they actually are. And that's the point about this defense. Since week 11, they're one of the 5 best defenses in efficiency. They've been locking down receivers. You just saw T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd combined for 198 yards and 1 touchdown against the Chiefs just 2 weeks ago. Those are 3 of the best receivers in football as a tandem. And they kept them to under 200 yards combined. And we're talking about rookie corners. Legarius Sneed got knocked out of the game in the first quarter, and it looked like it didn't matter. It looked like they got better. That's not going to slight the Legarius. I love the dude. But Brian Cook stepped up. Josh Williams stepped up. Jalen Watson stepped up. Juan Thornhill, the veteran, stepped up. Justin Reed was making big hits. The secondary, and we talked about this from the beginning of the year when I talked about this draft, about how I would have preferred them going after pass rush, because that's usually how defenses primarily make a defense work. And especially for a guy like Spags who loves to dial up blitzes.
Something about Spags. Spags gets his guys ready towards the end of the year, too. He has always firing on all cylinders.
They built their own version of the Seahawks secondary from 10 years ago. I'm not saying it's anywhere close to that, because that was a legendary defense. But they took the same mentality of let's lock down passing defense. And you're seeing that. Did I like some of the growing pains this defense went through this year? No. I hated the way they played it against the Bills. They practically hated them that fucking game. I hated the way they played against the Bengals earlier in the year. But what did they do in the postseason? What did they do down the stretch? They locked that shit down. They talked about the Bengals talked about how they ran a completely different defense against us this time in week 13. That was not the same defense. Chiefs played very methodical, conservative style defense against them in week 13. They came out there guns blazing. You think it's any fucking different this week against the Eagles, knowing that all the chips are on the table? Doubt it.
I don't think so.
And I love this conversation about just 2 weeks ago about how Joe Burrow will take the crown from Patrick Mahomes if the Eagles beat the Chiefs. Then it went to absolute radio silence. Why is that? Was it maybe because the Chiefs won, or was it because of the one-legged Patrick Mahomes absolutely outperformed Joe Burrow? The same Joe Burrow sacked 5 times and when given a clean pocket still managed to throw 2 interceptions. I realize that this is the NFL. I get that this is the Super Bowl, so nothing is achieved easily. But to me, this matchup is for the Chiefs is very simple. Keep Hurts in the pocket, force them to throw the ball, and the Chiefs win this game comfortably. The Chiefs had a playoff experience and talent advantage over the Jaguars. That's why they won that game. You saw Chad Henne walk in there and do a 98-yard drive, touchdown. The Chiefs had an offensive line and defensive line advantage over the Bengals. 5 sacks. Couldn't touch Patrick Mahomes. He runs for a first down, gets a penalty. Chiefs get in field goal range, kick it, game over. The Chiefs have a head coach and quarterback advantage against the Eagles. And what did I say from the very beginning of the season why I was picking the Chiefs to get back to the Super Bowl? Even losing Tyreek Hill, even having all these rookies starting, we have no idea what we're going to get from these guys. All these questions. Why did I stand on and stake my flag in the ground, say the Chiefs are still going there with the AFC going on an absolute spending spree? Von Miller going to the Bills. You know, the Chargers getting J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack. All these teams just piling up talent. Why did I still pick the Chiefs? Because they have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. And as we see for another year, that is the difference. That is why they're here. Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, and Eric Bieniemy have coached and combined 14 Super Bowls. And that goes from being assistants, head coach, whatever it was they had as positionary coaches. They have 14 Super Bowls in their experience bag. Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, and Jonathan Gannon have a combined 1 Super Bowl experience. And Jalen Hurts, to his credit, has been in big moments similar to the Super Bowl back in his college career. It's very similar to the Super Bowl, the college championship game. I mean, we know that millions of people watch that game. 100,000 people are at every single one of them. It's a big stage. Well, even in those moments, he either fell short, like in 2017's championship game, he completed 42% of his passes, he only 131 yards and 1 touchdown, and lost to Deshaun Watson, the Tigers 35-31. No, that's the next one, 2018. And then 2018, rookie Tua Tagovailoa replaced him mid-game, and with the and then became the absolute hero when with the walk-off touchdown to beat Georgia. They had a bench Jalen Hurts in there to become the hero. And sure, Jalen Hurts deserves tons of credit for being the leader and teammate he was in those moments by rallying around Tua. I'm just so glad we're champion. That dude he's a good human being. For sure. Jalen Hurts is a great man. I love that guy. Yeah, thank you. You're making my point. But it still has to be recognized that he failed to get the job done in those 2 big moments.
Yeah.
And through 3 postseason games of his NFL career, I've yet to be impressed. Against the Bucs last year, he was terrible. And I didn't hold that against him. He was a young dude. That team wasn't ready for that. That Bucs team was just clearly outclassing him. But he wasn't good. And then the 2 games this year, less than 200 passing yards combined. And now, granted, they didn't have to have him do anything, but the point remains, he didn't look good. Throws were left and right. He couldn't make throws downfield. Nick Wright had a chart on first things first. that since his injury, he's completing 0% of his passes throwing right all the way up the field. From like screen passes to Hail Marys. 0%.
That's why I laugh when people say this Eagles team has no weaknesses. There's definitely some weaknesses at the quarterback position.
Right. Yeah. And now at the biggest stage of them all, how am I supposed to convince myself or to anyone that he will go blow for blow with Patrick Mahomes, who's already held the Lombardi, who's making his 3rd Super Bowl appearance? I can't do it because I don't think he's capable, especially with an injured throwing shoulder. I'm going to give you guys my prediction in just a minute as how I see this game going. But I really hope this breakdown really helps people understand why my prediction is going to be what it is. Now, I'm going to pass it off to Trevor and Eddie, but nothing in anything that I just said here was an opinion. Every single thing I went off was factual evidence that we have leading into this game. And another fact I want to drop before we give it to Trevor is, do you guys know that I think it's the last 5 or 6 Super Bowl champions all had the longest winning streak going into the Super Bowl between the two teams? I think it's like the last 5 or 6 Super Bowl champions. That is something. I know we talk about the weird trends about the light-colored jerseys and stuff. That team usually wins like 13 of the last 15.
Momentum.
Yeah. Yes. 16 of the last 15 teams that wore light-colored jerseys won the Super Bowl. That's a weird one. I don't know if I buy into it, but it's kind of cool.
That's fun.
But the winning streak one, I would 100% buy into.
Yeah.
100% buy into.
Yeah, it's confidence.
I think that's a real thing. Yeah. Trevor, give me your thoughts on how this matchup, like how you see this matchup going into it, and then we're going to go to predictions after we're done with Eddie.
Well, I'm just going to roll off that last point and just carry on what you just said about how you don't think or do you expect the Eagles and Jalen Hurts to be able to go blow for blow with Patrick Mahomes, and I agree with that. And I think the Eagles coaching staff know that. So this is why their game plan coming into the game is going to be to try to run the ball like they do. That's their biggest strength on offense is running the ball, controlling the clock, to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. But our defense has been pretty stout, especially the last few weeks leading into the postseason. It's slowing the rundown, even in the postseason, slowing down Travis Etienne, not letting him pop off. A better running back than any of the Eagles running backs are. Travis Etienne's one of the best running backs in the league at this point. Had one of the better years of anybody this year. Especially yards per carry and his ability in the passing game, things like that. We didn't let him pop off. So, granted, this is a better O-line. This is a better scheme. This O-line blocks really well. They're very, very good at bouncing the run, just like you've heard the Niners guys come out and talk about how they're really good at bouncing on the outside and having blockers that the whole O-line will shift and block downfield. And the scheme they have to create space and holes for their running backs on the outside is incredible. They're very good at it. But our defense has been pretty stout against the run, man. And if Dick Bolton and Willie Gay and our guys up front are guys like Derek Nottie and guys that are great gap filler kind of guys, we've been very stout against the run, and I think that's something we can key in on and force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball and force him to try to go toe for toe and points for points with the Chiefs, because that is our biggest strategy, I believe too. I think our strategies coming into this game are completely opposite, right? The Chiefs, I think we have to go up early because the Eagles are the best first quarter offense in the league. They've scored, I think. There was some crazy stat about they've scored like almost points, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown on every single opening drive outside like 1 or 2 games. It's crazy. So their scripted opening drives are incredible. So we can stop that, or if we take the ball first or whatever, we got to score first. We got to strike first and just keep pounding on and building on that lead and force them to chase us, because I think that's the best formula to beat them. Because as much as I do like Jalen Hurts, I think he's a talented guy. I think he's an incredible athlete and running the ball. We can talk about how great that is, but the number one objective for a quarterback is to throw the ball, right? That's the number one skill set you have. I don't think he's the best thrower of the ball, especially right now with him being, hampered with that injury. Shoulder injury is one of the worst injuries you can sustain as a quarterback. Elbow, shoulder, those are the 2 joints you need the most, especially when it's your throwing arm. Right. You know what I mean? So that's a serious issue. We can talk about Pat's ankle all you want. Pat doesn't need legs, guys. Pat can be running on knees. Just two nubs out there and still get it done. I mean, we've seen guys like Big Ben, guys like that don't have to have legs to just complete great throws because they have incredible arm talent. And Pat's ability to see the blitzes now and see that in defenses pre-snap, he's getting better and better at it. And we've seen it, man, just in the last game against the Bengals. Calling out blitzes, calling out guys who's coming, who's not. That's huge, man. That's a new development for Patrick Mahomes that I've seen him rapidly grow, especially this year because he was kind of forced to. Because he didn't have, that other safety blanket in Tyreek Hill. So he had to learn to adapt, and he's done nothing but that. So, Yeah, I think the two objectives for both of these teams is the polar opposites of each other. I think the Chiefs want to go out there and light up the scoreboard, force the Eagles to chase because the Eagles are a front-running offense, and they do not play good coming from behind because Jalen Hurts can't score in bunches. He can't score quickly. In some games they've had some big plays. You know what, guys like A.J. Brown, home run play, the Titans game perhaps when they had explosive play after explosive play. Yeah. Granted, that was the worst secondary in the league they were going against. You know what I mean? So and that was a massive revenge game for A.J. Brown. So he was not going to be denied in that game. And that was before the injury for Jalen Hurts. So he's definitely come down to earth with the deep balls and things like that. He hasn't had a completion over 20 yards in some time now. So I do think the Chiefs have the massive advantage here as far as offenses goes. And I know the Eagles' offense was great this year, but again, we could talk about the competition, the defenses they went against, the pace of the game, and the way they controlled the clock and kept even bad quarterbacks on the sidelines. But their defense was great, obviously, against those bad quarterbacks. You play who you play, and I get it. Their numbers are inflated. I do believe their numbers are inflated. But
talking about that inflated numbers, John Harrison dropped a stat on us. Sweet. 47 of their 70 regular season sacks came in 7 games against quarterbacks that hold the ball too long. Andy Dalton, Daniel Jones, 9 against Carson Wentz. It's like they're good.
John pays attention to our posts. I like that.
It's like they're good, but the media acts like they are the 85 Bears. They're not.
Right.
And by the way, they had 7 against Andy Dalton. And Saints still won 20-10 in Philly.
Yep.
Right. So this is why I don't. I mean, we've seen bad Chiefs defenses have a lot of sacks in seasons, but our secondary gets. And listen, no discredit to Darius Slay, who I love and respect. I think he's one of the best corners in the league. But that secondary can be had, bro. Like that secondary, you look around the rest of the town. I think I'm not jumping ahead, but I think Travis Kelce is going to have a massive mismatch here for that secondary. Their linebackers and their safeties are not going to contain him. They're going to have to double him, and that's just going to open up other opportunities. But I think that secondary is honestly possible weakness because they didn't play a lot of quarterbacks that can expose them. Andy Dalton had a good game against them, and he got sacked that many times, but still found ways to find Chris Olave downfield and score touchdowns and blah, blah, blah. And that's Andy Dalton, guys. Like we're talking about, this is a massive difference here as far as talent and knowledge of the game and experience that Patrick Mahomes already has been a Super Bowl victor, has been a Super Bowl MVP, has been in multiple Super Bowls before this even. You know what I mean? So there's just so much working in the Chiefs' favor, and I find it hilarious that there's so much energy and talking points in the Eagles' favor. You know what I mean? And like you said, I do find it odd that a lot of the conversations about Patrick Mahomes' injury after he just went out there and beat a better team in my mind in the Bengals a couple weeks ago with more of a hampered leg and then with 2 extra weeks of healing going into this matchup. So listen, I like the Chiefs in this matchup. Obviously, that's not a homer take. I think that's a pure football take. I think the smart take is the Chiefs. And if you're a betting person, the smart bet is the Chiefs because we're dogs for some goddamn reason. I find it hilarious. I actually like it because I prefer us being dogs. All it does is add more fire under our asses. And you want to light fire under our ass of any locker room, it better not be the Chiefs, bro, because we know what we do in these moments. So, and especially Patrick Mahomes, Petty Mahomes, when he gets out there and he's getting doubted. I love it. So yeah, I think this game is pretty simple on what both teams want to do. I think the Chiefs want to go throw all over that secondary. Obviously, establish the run. I think Pacheco could have a good chance because the Eagles do play a bend don't break defense. They're not some defense that forces a lot of punts.
No.
They will play a lot of bend don't break defense that settle for field goals, hold you to field goals. When things get tight, they do stiffen up. I will give them that because that defensive line is great and it's extremely talented. I'm not going to act like they're not. Their pass rush is incredible. They have dogs in that line. I'm not going to act like they don't. But they're not a team that, they only allowed 25 fewer points, or they only allowed 25 fewer points in our defense this season. You know what I mean?
25, exactly.
But that also correlates with the pace of our games and teams having to chase and score a lot more points to keep up with our offense rather than theirs.
And that's something else I want to add to this equation is experience matters in this matchup for one particular reason.
Yeah.
One big reason. Something our guy Nick Wright said on First Things First yesterday to Mark Schlereth, who has the Eagles winning this game by at least 10.
Of course he does.
Nick Wright brought up the fact that the Buccaneers' loss in the Super Bowl rings truer to Patrick Mahomes and moving forward in his career than the Super Bowl win against the 49ers. Biggest reason why. Because they got beat up in the interior. Patrick Mahomes he literally scrambled for 497 yards in that game. And he got more pressure than any other quarterback in the history of football in any game ever.
That was tough to
So
watch, man.
that's why the Chiefs have spent so much money and time on their offensive line in these last 2 years. This Eagles defense is the exact same style of defense as that Bucs defense from 3 years or 2 years ago. You really think the Chiefs are going to come into this game with the same problems they had against that Bucs team, knowing that that's what they're going to have to overcome and not being ready for it this time? You're out of your mind.
Yeah.
It isn't just the fact they've upgraded it at these positions. It's the experience of it, knowing what happened. And if they can get back, if they can go back, because I guarantee you, if Andy Reid had a time machine and had those exact same offensive linemen, I guarantee you that game would have went a little bit different. I'm not saying the Chiefs would have won. I'm saying that game would have went a lot different because the Chiefs would have been more prepared for it. Exactly. And also the fact that we forget that even despite those inefficiencies at offensive line, there were multiple touchdowns dropped. One hit Damian or Darrell Williams right in the face mask, the famous side throw that Patrick Mahomes had towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
Dropped touchdowns. Missed opportunities.
Yeah.
Tipped interceptions.
Listen, I know you're the big X and O's and stats guy. I'm more like the philosophical side of things and what is motivating each individual. What going into this game is going to be. Who has what motive. The massive amounts of motive and motivation overall in this game is heavily in favor of the Chiefs. I mean, just think about the storyline for Andy Reid. What this Super Bowl means to Andy Reid, beating his team that he had 10 plus victories in the postseason with, went to a Super Bowl with, obviously lost to the Patriots, but had a lot of success with and was fired from. Sirianni worked for Andy Reid. He's not going to let some guy that worked under him that he fired or let walk away come and beat him. Patrick Mahomes, obviously being doubted all year, the motivation train that he's had all year, that chip on his shoulder all year. Pat with the chip on his shoulder, good luck to anybody. All the things that have been said about this Chiefs team heading into the season. Now we're in the Super Bowl. You think we're going to let up now? We're shifting into an extra gear that we didn't know even had. That locker room is probably so motivated, and all the things that for Andy Reid personally as a coach, you don't think he's going to have the greatest game plan and just the motivation in general to go and win this game over his dead body, over Patrick Mahomes' dead body, over everybody in this locker room's dead body, bro. We're going to go win this game. The motivation is 100% on our side. I know that the Eagles, the story has been great. They kind of overachieved a little last year and made the playoffs with the one game over 500, 9-8, I believe they were last year. And they got absolutely murked by the Bucs last season. But there's just two different tiers of teams here, and tiers of coaches and quarterbacks here. And when it comes down to, granted, both these teams are equally as talented. I'd say maybe the roster of the Eagles is bigger names and probably more talent overall. Same amount of Pro Bowlers on both teams. Great names in damn near every position on these rosters. But when you have the edge and the experience edge and the talent edge at quarterback, when you have the experience in the track record of Andy Reid being here, done it, it has failed. You know what I mean? And Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes both know what it's like to fail. The Eagles don't know. They're not battle tested yet. Sirianni doesn't know. This roster, some of these guys know what it's like to win. Some of these guys, very few of these guys are left in that Super Bowl roster. The Lane Johnsons and the Jason Kelce's of the world. Those guys have been there and done it and have failed and have won. So there is that. But overall, I mean, this young roster, man, the Chiefs and the Patrick Mahomes with the chip on his shoulder, Travis Kelce, with the chip on his shoulder from losing that last Super Bowl we had, and then losing the AFC Championship game. We already got that one monkey off our back about getting our revenge on the Bengals. The job's not done, though. We got one more game to complete. I'm putting all my chips in the middle on the Chiefs because of motivation, because of experience, of head coach, because of quarterback talent, and just the wherewithal of knowing what it's like to win and lose this game. And the Eagles are, they're new here. We got to go prove that. We got to go show who's the better team, and I fully expect the Chiefs to do so.
At the beginning of the season, right before the season began, we did our NFL prediction. Show.
Yep.
I picked the Eagles 14-3. There was a reason why I did that. You look at their schedule; it was an easy schedule. They faced really no real competition really throughout the entire season, other than Dak Prescott. And you can say Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, but Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they were struggling themselves.
Yes.
They were struggling themselves. So
they still put 30 on them, though.
And they still put 30. And then you start looking back at games. They lost to what we talked about earlier. They lost to the Saints in Philadelphia. Yeah, you can say Jalen Hurts didn't play. Yeah, Minshew almost threw for 300 yards in that game, and they still lost.
Yep.
So I don't think Jalen Hurts would have changed much in that outcome. Maybe add a few extra rushing yards on there, but I think I just they struggle against bad teams, but they also struggle against good quarterbacks, and they only face 2 good quarterbacks this season that you can sit here and say, yeah, they're good quarterbacks. And Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers. This Philadelphia team, I'm not saying they shouldn't be in the Super Bowl, but they did get lucky. We have to remember that they were a lucky team.
They got some breaks.
They faced the Giants. Obviously, being a divisional opponent, it can either go really good your way or it can go really bad your way. And we saw what happened in that game against the 49ers. I think if Brock Purdy would have stayed in that game, I think they would have went blow for blow in that game. I think they would have because right before halftime, I think it was 14-7 with that Christian McCaffrey touchdown, and you were like, "Holy shit, they might come back."
Well, that's with the Brock Purdy fumble that set them up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was with what's his name, Josh Johnson. Him driving the ball, and they were starting to get that rhythm back. The Christian McCaffrey was starting to rush, so they were getting in there, and then the concussion hit. And that was it. It was game over. I knew the game was over when Brock Purdy went down. But when Josh Johnson, their backup, went down, I was like, game. That's it. They're not going to put any more points if they put any. It was like, it's over. And you saw that defense, the 49ers defense. Yeah, they dropped over 30 on that, or they dropped 30 on that over 49ers defense. But you got to think, the 49ers were getting 3 and outs.
Yeah,
they're all, so their defense was gassed.
Yeah.
They were tired. You're always going to beat a tired defense. It just happens. But nonetheless, they made it to the Super Bowl. However easy their schedule was, they made it here. They deserve their respect. But I think overall, I think the Chiefs is a better team than the Eagles. Having Patrick Mahomes on its own should put you on a lead. In betting or whatever it is that they do, predictions or whatnot. Just having Patrick Mahomes, what he did against the Bengals, nobody saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. I'm sure you guys didn't, especially with the hobbled ankle. You were like, yeah, he's gonna have a good game, but man, you were
legend.
You weren't 100% certain that he was gonna have a great game like he did. You know what I mean? Because you're like, how bad is his ankle?
Yep.
To run for the first down, put the game away.
Yeah, to put the game.
Of course.
Yeah, to Patrick Mahomes in that game, he put that team on his back.
Yep.
He carried this team to that victory. That's crazy. With the hobbled ankle, he said, "Fuck it, I'm running," and he took off and got the yards. And obviously, unfortunate for the Bengals, the dude pushed them out of bounds, and obviously gave him the extra 15 yards to make the field goal. But Patrick Mahomes was spectacular in that game. Fuck, I haven't even talked about the Jaguars when he was like, he didn't even want to come out. He was mad at Andy Reid that he brought him out.
He was bad.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
no.
He didn't.
Am I coming back in?
He didn't want to find out if it was broken or not. He just wanted to risk it and stay out there. Yeah,
and
passion, man.
And then Andy Reid said, "I have the 51% or whatever they said about the 51%."
Yeah, I have the 51% vote.
And yeah, he
Which
was
is
like,
true.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he was like, "Go."
Veto
And when he told Patrick Mahomes to go get that X-ray, you saw the footage of him running into the into the tunnel and trying to get that X-ray. Andy Reid said, "It's like I didn't even know he ran until like after a couple days after when I saw the video, and I was like, wow." So that just shows you what Patrick Mahomes is. I just don't see this Eagles defense going in there, and even if you blitz Patrick Mahomes like loves the blitz. I don't know what it is about Patrick Mahomes. You can't blitz the guy because he's gonna fucking tear you up.
Yeah,
it's crazy. The only way you can slow down Mahomes, I'm not saying that you beat him or anything. The way you can slow him down is if you drop 8. But like you said, that is not the Eagles' style of defense, and we've seen it obviously. And like you said, this is more like a Tampa Bay kind of style of defense where they where they put the pressure on their quarterback, and obviously they did in the Super Bowl. They were putting the pressure. So it's just very, very hard for me to sit here and say the Eagles are the better team. They might have more depth. We can say that. Yeah, they have better depth than what the Chiefs do.
Mhm.
But I think if you superstar power, star talent kind of players, I think the Chiefs have more. I know they're saying that Jason Kelsey is one of the greatest. He's arguably the greatest
I
center
think
there.
the edge rush and receivers
Yeah.
are what outshine that talent. That's it.
Jason Kelsey is arguably the greatest center of all time in football.
He's up there.
But Creed Humphrey, if he
Yes.
outranked him
Guys,
this season.
I don't
Our
think
offensive line
he
was
was-
better than theirs.
Yeah,
Look,
it was.
Creed Humphrey was. I think. I mean, we
He's an
don't care about.
all-pro.
Yeah, he's an all-pro. Like, we can't discredit that man. Creed Humphreys might have played a better season than what Jason Kelsey had,
Jason Kelsey's
and that is
better.
crazy.
Jason Kelsey's better at downfield blocking for run plays, but that's because that's what their
their
offense is
offense.
predicated off
Yeah.
of.
He's
Creed
great.
Humphrey, I think he allowed like 2 pressures all season. Like
Our
the fact
offensive
that,
line allowed less sacks and less pressures all year.
remember we had Jeff Allen on the show?
This is the best offensive line they're going to face all year. The Eagles.
Yeah, you remember we had Jeff Allen on the show, and I asked him, what is more difficult to do, run block or pass block? He's clearly pass block.
Yeah.
Because when you're run block, you got to push forward, baby. You got
Especially
to
Patrick
use that
Mahomes.
power.
Him moving around.
Yeah, you have to protect when you're pass blocking, so that takes a lot more effort. For Creed Humphrey to do what he did this year, to me, it's even more impressive than what Jason Kelsey did because to Creed's defense, I'm not saying you're saying he's got Joe Trey Smith left and right, but their tackles are so much better than what the Chiefs have had. Lane Johnson, and Matt Luda, those guys are better tackles. So Jason Kelsey's been able to have that ability, and because of the fact, I don't think Jason Kelsey plays as long as he's played if he's playing a more run style offense. That's what sustained his health. He's an undersized center, and he's 35 years old. So that's what I wanted to give you guys a stat real quick to kind of emphasize, because while you guys were talking about Jalen Hurts and how I've been sitting here talking about make him throw, it is so imperative for this to happen. So you guys remember going into the 2021 season before the Chiefs played the Ravens, and that was the second game of the season? We talked about how the Chiefs have been able to beat Lamar because why? They don't let him dominate with the ground game. They make him throw.
Yeah.
I believe going into that season, Lamar Jackson, I think 4 of his 7 losses were against the Chiefs, right, in his career.
Yeah, we were his kryptonite. Yeah.
The biggest reason why is for Spags and even Bob Sutton, what they would do is they would say, okay, dude, you're not running today. Other teams, they'll be afraid that you can make a good downfield throw here or there. He was averaging 17 pass attempts, but versus everybody else against the Chiefs, 37 pass attempts.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't blowouts. Most of those games were close. There was one, I think it was during the COVID time when the Chiefs blew about 34-20. But other than that, remember, Eddie, we were at that game in 2018, man. That was a nail-biter. Yeah, Lamar threw the ball 34 times in that game. It's the same thing in this one. And here's a stat that I want to tell you guys about Jalen Hurts and why the Chiefs have to do this. Playoffs included. Since 2020, when he took over that last fourth of the season as a starting quarterback, in games that Jalen Hurts has had to throw the ball 36 or more times, the Eagles are 4-5. He's not a quarterback that can throw the ball at high volume and beat you. The Bucs game.
Yep.
Threw the ball 43 times, had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The Bucs in that game, you know why they had to throw that much? Because the Bucs started the game 14-0, and then 17-0, and then 28-0, and the game was over. I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to go out there and put up 28 straight points on the Eagles. That's probably not happening. But could the Chiefs go up 14-0? Yeah.
Sure.
And if that happens, guess what goes out the window? The RPO plays.
Guess who did it? Jacksonville.
Exactly.
They went up. I know Jacksonville lost, but
Yeah.
That's because of their mistakes, though.
Yeah.
the second quarter turnovers.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm saying they went up 14-0.
Right. When you're trading blows with the Eagles, they're not a team that matches you. Because like you just said, Eddie, the Eagles put 34 points against the Cowboys without Jalen Hurts. It didn't matter. Because when you play a capable quarterback, who, by the way, Dak Prescott in that game had 390 total yards and 3 touchdowns. He torched them. And he had just got back.
That secondary can be had, man.
Telling you.
Telling you.
And they spent all that money on that secondary, and it's still not even better what the Chiefs have right now moving into the postseason. Name-wise, oh my God, their paper, they have a all-star cast. But that isn't what matters in games like this, because why is the last 8 or 9 AFC championships been won by either Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or Joe Burrow? Why? Because we know that this comes down to quarterback play.
Great quarterback.
You can have teams. We've seen. Look at the Niners. Why didn't they advance? They didn't have a quarterback. They had a dip just as deep of a team as the Eagles, if not more. And it didn't matter. Because when you can't move the ball, you can't move the ball. You have to have a capable quarterback. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts sucks. He's fucking awesome. He was a legitimate MVP candidate for the majority of the season. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, when it comes to a matchup like this where you have to make one extra play, one play more here than there, you have to extend the drive. We got more faith in him or Patrick Mahomes. That's what it's going to come down to. Because these teams are awash in certain areas. Like I said, interior presence, it's a wash.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And John Harrison just said that Prescott was sacked 6 times and still put
up those numbers. You really think Patrick gets sacked 6 times in this game?
Sacks are just empty sacks. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of those sacks. Honestly,
it's probably garbage.
That's borderline sexual harassment. It's still got he still got the job done.
He almost got 400 yards.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
I'm trying to block Kelsey. Even if you double team him, even if you triple team him, Travis Kelsey just wiggles around and finds a way. They were talking about I think like 41% of like Patrick Mahomes touchdowns came in like a 5 or less yards pass in the end zone, which is crazy. Yep. I mean, the Eagles defense has to find a way to be able to stop Patrick Mahomes. The league figured him out last year.
And all we did was lead the league in offense.
Exactly. Yeah. And Patrick was just fucking still
MVP.
I mean,
this is the year we're supposed to put Patrick Mahomes away.
Because last year they figured him out, so you figure this year it's like, well, we'll just continue what happened last year. You know, Patrick Mahomes is going to be on a decline from now because you know that's what a lot of people predicted when you lose a superstar wide receiver, MVP, Super Bowl. I mean, what else? Broke the record for total.
You can disrespect us. We got to deal with this.
Broke the record for total yards. I mean, whatever you throw at this guy, he will overcome. It's just crazy to see how much Patrick Mahomes
sheer will.
It's like it's some kind of superhero shit. Like you don't see this often. When he has to put the team on his back, he does it with no problem.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crazy to see some talent like that. Like that talent doesn't come around often. It's just going to be a tough matchup for the Eagles. I mean, I'm not predicting we're going to blow them out, but I do predict we're going to be able to put some points on this Eagles defense that a lot of people are not giving us credit for. No injuries going into this game. I just don't see how Patrick Mahomes doesn't put up better numbers than he did against the Bengals.
Yeah.
He had no receivers against the Bengals and still found a way to win.
Right. We win against better receivers.
And now you're not dealing with the climate either. You're not dealing with 5-degree weather. You're going to be in warm, dome-like conditions, man.
And the Bengals defense has our number. They had, like you said, they dropped 8.
And you said something the other day that I 100% agreed with. You said that I think the Bengals, when it comes to matchup, is the far better team than the Eagles.
Yes.
When it comes to the matchup for the Chiefs.
Yes.
Like that game, this win was a much more bigger of accomplishment beating the Bengals than it would be beating the Eagles.
Who I think are a better team than the Eagles.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to matchup.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles have a better overall team, but the Joe Burrow factor, the Zach Taylor factor, they have the Chiefs number factor, like all those things factoring in. I agree. Like, it's a bigger accomplishment to beat that team.
If the Bengals beat us and they went to the Super Bowl face the Eagles, I'm picking the Bengals because I think they're the better team. That's what I'm saying.
If their offensive line was healthier, because you imagine that front seven of the Eagles against Joe Burrow. I mean, look, why did the Rams win the Super Bowl against the Bengals? Because they annihilated Joe Burrow.
It would have been a low score.
Yeah, I know, but
I think it would still be a low scoring game if the Bengals had it. But I do think that with Trevor, I think the Bengals could have won that game because the Bengals defense is no fucking. That's a great
secondary. I'm just saying. I know. I'm not trying to shit on the Eagles secondary, dude, but I definitely. Outside of Darius Slay, that secondary can be had, man. And they have. I mean, you know, the Dak Prescott's lit them up. Aaron Rodgers lit them up like that. I'm just saying, bro. Like,
well, and here's an interesting angle to look at this matchup as well. Is it something we haven't been talked about at all yet when it comes to the Eagles defense? You can also win on them. They were 16th in the league in rush defense this year. That means they're average. Good, but also not great.
Yeah. They weren't the Niners.
You can run on them. You
Yeah.
can run on them.
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing about that is they're a team that likes to front run, right? So how are they still 16th in rush defense when they were a team that got out ahead of people? Because when you get out ahead of people, most teams don't run against you. So how did they give up their numbers like that? It's because in games that were tight, they were giving up rush yards. That's the point. You watch that Saints game. You watch the Cowboys game. Those teams were getting things on the ground.
And they play, like I said before, they play a lot of bend, don't break. They'll let you get to the 30, and then they'll really tighten up, which the Chiefs have done plenty of times too.
But the other problem though with the Eagles is their defense's strength is what? Getting to the quarterback.
Yeah.
So if a team like the Chiefs, they can run the ball. I'm not saying they do it on a consistent basis, but just 2 weeks ago against the Jaguars, they had over 115 rushing yards against a good rush defense, I might add. I think they're like 7th in the league. You saw how much it opened up for Patrick Mahomes and Chad Henne. For Chad Henne, we give him all the credit, but it was a 47 rushing yard run that Pacheco did that opened up that entire drive. So in a game like this, it would not be foreign to me or would not be shocking to me if Pacheco broke out a 38-yard rush.
Or McKinnon on a dump off.
And it opens everything up for the Chiefs.
Crazy thing, you're getting Clyde backs. So you can put two backs next to Mahomes. And you can put two backs with Mahomes and kind of block that pressure and have him fucking find Kelsey, find Juju, find Sky Moore, find MVS. So the Chiefs will be able to have time. Patrick Mahomes is going to have a time to in the pocket, I think, this game.
Because we've been fixated on all these weapons the Eagles have, which I get. Because, I mean, my God, A.J. Brown is a superstar wide receiver. Devontae Smith is a solid receiver.
Rising,
yes.
rising.
1,000-yard receiver. He's in like the T. Higgins tier. He's a very, very good receiver.
Kind of about young Keenan Allen. Like
yes.
Kind of that very good
undersized, but Keenan's a little bigger, but I get what you're saying stylistically.
Yep.
And then you have Dallas Goedert. Even Pascal's a solid receiver. He's a solid receiver. So they have weapons. And not to mention Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, and Jalen Hurts' legs. But I think that people have been sleeping on what the Chiefs have. I mean, MVS is not I don't think he's by any means a humongous prolific receiver. But games like this last game against the Bengals are games that get guys like that to wake up and to become more of an integral part of the offense. We have not seen Juju have a big game in probably, 6-7 weeks.
Since a concussion.
Yeah, it's been around 6-7 weeks. It would be due for him. How about Jerick McKinnon, who's been silent for the last couple of games? He's due. You mentioned Clyde, who's been chomping at the bit for 2 months to get back off that high ankle.
Healthy scratch for the last couple of weeks.
Knowing this is probably his last game as a Chief, he's going to go out there and try to showcase for his next suitor. I mean, there's like we talk about this all the time, guys, about how the Chiefs have these guys. Week 1 against the Cardinals, everybody had all these questions about everybody but Travis Kelce, and then everybody contributed. How many games have we seen this year where Patrick Mahomes will have 9 to 12 guys get a catch? Was it 11 or 12 guys this year had a touchdown reception? So the love's going to be spread. Can the Eagles maintain that? Because that's the question. Jalen Hurts is not a guy in my eyes that's going to spread the ball around. It's either going to be RPO, A.J. Brown, RPO, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert might get sprinkled in every once in a while, or it's going to be a run play. Patrick Mahomes, there's everybody. Justin Watson and Cross.
They have the tight end, but like you said, Nick Wright mentioned was 0% completion when it goes to the right side. So you know that when the tight end's on the left side, more than likely they're either going to go that way, quick little slide. So it's
and think about how much they're putting into this film study, the game plan, because there's a real chance, guys, that the Chiefs have not only a new offensive coordinator but a new defensive coordinator next season. There are rumors that Eric Bieniemy is going to take either the Ravens or the Commanders' OC job.
I think Eric Bieniemy's gone.
Yeah, and then there's talks about Steve Spagnuolo might be retiring. That may not happen, but it also might. The point I'm making, though, is Chris Jones might be gone. Clyde's going to be gone. Juan Thornhill's going to be gone. Yeah. Frank Clark might be gone. Cole Hardman might be gone. Like, there's a list of guys on this team, both coaching staff and players, that might be gone.
And I believe Frank Clark is 3 sacks away to break the playoff record.
Yeah.
So if he knows that this might be his last chance to really go deep in the playoffs with a good team, he's going to go all out.
Right.
And we know these guys are hungry, and we know these guys have felt how it feels to lose a Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones have stated that's not a fucking feeling I want to feel again. You know what I mean? So these guys are seeking revenge from what happened against Tampa Bay. That was just a terrible game. They were blown out. They were manhandled that game. So they have a bad sour taste from that game, and I think that's going to lead into this Super Bowl, and that's what has motivated this guys even more. With Spagnuolo talking about how he reached out to college coaches to see how to stop the RPOs and the new style of offense, because he said a few years ago, I knew this was the trajectory of where the NFL was headed. So a few years ago, he talked to the coaches and the likes of Urban Meyer and a few other college coaches to kind of get an idea of how to stop this. So yeah, it's gonna be good,
right?
Well, I want to say, like, I don't know. I know we're about done getting out of this game, but like as far as mismatches for both teams. So, like, what do you guys see as like the mismatch for the Chiefs, as far as like what they can attack as a mismatch for the Eagles on the Eagles defensive side, and then on the opposite side of that, the Eagles offense to attack the Chiefs defensive side?
Yeah. So I'll start with the Eagles and what they can do to attack the Chiefs on the defensive side. Because I think there is one real way that the Eagles can expose the Chiefs defense.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs have actually been really bad this year in yards after catch. If Jalen Hurts gets the ball out quick and they create good screens, good blocking protection from like an A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith up the middle or down the sideline on the flat, because we know the Chiefs love to leave the flat wide open. Mm-hmm. If Jalen Hurts is getting success there, they can move the ball with a lot of success, and that sets up the run game even more so because the RPO become even more prevalent for them. So that's the way I can see Jalen Hurts and that offense really, really making things difficult for the Chiefs on the defensive side. For the Chiefs on the offensive side against the Eagles, using their aggressiveness against them. So they're a defense that plays just like I talked about with the 49ers. They play a similar style defense, pin their ears back, go after the quarterback. Your 4, your 5 can go and get that quarterback. You don't have to blitz very often. They're not a very high blitzing team. I think they were like 20th in the league in blitzes. So use that aggressiveness against them. And I love the fact that the Chiefs played the Bengals right before that, because the Bengals play a defense that drops back. Mm-hmm. So now Patrick Mahomes has a taste of what's it going to look like when you're only rushing 4. Well, that's what the Bengals did, but this Eagles team can get to the quarterback with a lot of success. So guys like McKinnon and Pacheco and Jody Fortson and Noah Gray and Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, Juju on the short slants, Travis Kelce on the short slants, Noah Gray up the middle. Those are the guys on little 2-3-step dropbacks. Patrick was firing the ball over, or HB draws. You guys know I'm not a big fan of that. But against a defense like this, it's perfect, because what it does is it sets them up. You make them feel like they're getting pressure, and then big little HB draw right up the middle. Pacheco gets 7 yards. McKinnon gets 5 yards, and you're just chunking them to death. Keeping that defense on the field. Because one thing we do know about this defense for the Eagles, they're not young. A lot of guys up front are old. Like Fletcher Cox is 33. Brandon Graham's is 35. What's his name? Robert Quinn is like 34 himself. Like a lot of these guys are old.
They still got some younger guys in Reddick and Sweat. Guys that are,
sure, yeah. But I'm saying the majority of their depth is older guys on the front. So use
speed guys.
Yes, use that against them. Let them feel like they're getting pressure on Patrick, and he does a little dump off for 17 yards. Let them think they're getting pressure on Patrick in a shotgun formation, and then just have a little HB draw to Isaiah Pacheco or Clyde Edwards-Helaire or even Jerick McKinnon. Regardless, that's the way the Chiefs utilize this. Because I don't think the Chiefs – I mean, I do think the Chiefs are going to take shots downfield. I think that's going to happen. But it's going to be set-up shot plays. It's not going to be, hey, first play of the game, 50-yard ball. I don't think that's how they're going to do it. I think the Chiefs are going to come out and make it look very methodical, make it look like they're going to do it, but they're going to be very efficient with it. That's how they're going to beat the Eagles in this game.
Yeah, I see multiple mismatches here on both sides. Well, more for the Chiefs in my opinion, but I think Travis Kelce is the ultimate mismatch here for the Eagles defense. I don't think they have a safety or a linebacker that can play one-on-one, so they're going to have to try to bracket him, which opens up obviously other opportunities for other players. But I think Travis Kelce is going to eat in this game. I just think that's a massive mismatch. We've seen guys like Dalton Schultz absolutely shred that defense and have multiple touchdowns and 7+ catches, for 80+ yards, and have that day against them. And that's with Dak throwing the ball. That's with Dalton Schultz being the lesser of talent that he is. Travis Kelce, granted, he's a good tight end, but we've seen no-name tight ends for the Titans have big games against the Eagles. So I think the tight end position is played many good tight ends this year at all. So I think that's absolutely an opportunity to create a massive mismatch for the Chiefs offense going into the against this defense. And I think the quick strike ability of the offense of the Eagles against our defense that struggled against defending the flat and our press defense or lack thereof of a press defense, not wanting to meet guys in line of scrimmage and play a little soft, which is some bend don't break. And I get it. When things get tight, I trust our defense to make stops against that Eagles offense, especially against the run. But a dump off to like a Kenny Gainwell, or a quick strike to Devonta Smith, guys like that can create a lot of yards after catch, like you said. That is, I think, the only real weakness that we have in our defense that could be exposed by them if they get the ball out quick and we don't get to Jalen quick enough, or make him uncomfortable, or force him out of the pocket, and let him run into sacks and things like that. That's what we got to do. We got to get there quick on him because they're going to try to get the ball out fast. And I do think, as far as like another bonus, and I'll give credit to the Eagles' defensive line here. I think there is a mismatch with Wiley, possibly, unless Wiley steps up, because this is a payday game for Wiley.
Yeah,
because Wiley is going to get paid if he balls out in this game and plays great. But if he's got a Sweat, or if he's got a Graham on him coming at him with a one-on-one, that kind of scares me a little bit. That gives me a little bit of pause.
That's why I think the Chiefs are going to run 12 and 13 personnel a lot in this game.
Smith didn't help.
Yes, chip blocks, McKinnon. Yes.
Yeah. And I think I agree with that. I think we did that even a good amount against the Bengals.
Yeah.
And it worked. Obviously, Pat had great time in that pocket against the Bengals for the most part. So that is an area where I'm a little sketchy about with the matchup, whoever's matching up against Wiley there. But at the same time, Wiley's been playing pretty good, man. I mean, he's held his own for the most part. He's had some moments where he's absolutely gotten destroyed. This is not a defensive line that you can allow that. So he's going to have to hold his own, and I'm really interested to see that matchup. But that is a mismatch, I do think, whoever it is going against him. But I do expect help. I do think we will have some 2-3 tight end sets, and possibly the best chip blocking running back in the league, and Jerick McKinnon. So, yeah, those are kind of my mismatches ideas, and I think either team could expose. But I think Travis Kelce and then obviously Wiley is a scary matchup there. But yeah.
I'm gonna go with Travis Kelce now. It's like I said earlier, it's very hard. You can double team him, triple team him. He'll still find a way to get his yards, to get first downs. It's just very hard to play Travis Kelce. Even with the Raiders, he had 4 touchdowns with 25 yards. Even if you find a way to kind of slow him down in receiving yard, you still find a way to kill you in the end zone.
Yeah,
that's just who it is. That's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. They have the connection like no other. It's a great tight end QB connection, one of the greatest out there. So I think if the Chiefs can expose the Eagles defense with Travis Kelce, I think that is a valid reason to fuck. I lose my English, but you know what I mean.
Spanish,
yeah, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. And then one way the Eagles can expose this Chiefs defense, I would say, like Glenn said, it's the yards after catch,
quick strikes.
It's the tackling for me. It's annoying to see how we miss the tackles, the open tackles. I don't know why it happens. I don't know why the Chiefs sometimes forget to tackle or how to tackle. That is annoying. That's one thing where the Eagles can expose this defense with the quick with Devontae and AJ Brown's speed. Trying to get more yards with after the catch. It's just what it is. That's our fucking pain in our ass. We've dealt with it all season.
Kulo.
Yeah. Kulo. We've dealt with it all season because I don't think their run game will expose this defense because our defense is good against the run. They've been good. They've been good so far, especially down the stretch against the run. Fucking Russell Wilson don't matter. It's a division rival, but overall, this defense has been great against the run. Like we didn't let Etienne do anything on the ground. We pretty much shut that shit down for the Jaguars, which is a big part of their game. When you shut it down like that, they have to rely on Trevor Lawrence and hoping there's no turnovers. But yeah, the Eagles can expose that, and like I said, Travis Kelce, that's going to be a problem for this Eagles defense.
Yeah. All right, I want to get to want to get to you guys' two key players. I'm going to start this one. I want to make this very clear because I'm going to make a prediction with both of these guys. So the offensive one has been very difficult for me because I think it's widely assumed that Travis Kelce will probably have a very solid game, and I am expecting him to. Wouldn't shock me at all if he has 8 to 10 catches for 95 to 115 yards and a touchdown. I think that's probably very realistic. The Eagles, to their credit, last year when they played the Chiefs, held him to 3 catches for 23 yards, but Tyreek Hill had an historic game at 3 touchdowns for 186 yards. With him out of the picture, it's going to be more emphasis for Travis Kelce, and I think Travis Kelce will have a big game. But I'm looking for an X factor here, a guy that's going to give the Chiefs that extra oomph. Because, like I said, Travis Kelce is an easy one. This is going to sound so insane, man. I think it's going to come down to backup running backs. Isaiah Pacheco will probably have a fine game. I think it's going to come down to the pairing of Jerick McKinnon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Because something Andy Reid said this week is something I believe he did. He said there's going to be a guy in this game that people are not talking about that's going to have a big game. Everybody knows that Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco is starting to get all this running back one praise. That would be a mystery. If he has a big game, okay, that's not shocking. Travis Kelce has a big game. MVS just had a big game. So if he has another one, that's not shocking. Juju is a big name. Kadarius Toney, everyone's expecting this guy to have breakout games. Gets injured all the time. So who's that leave? What, Noah Gray?
Jody Fortson.
Justin Watson? Like, sure, it could be one of them. But I think because the atmosphere of this game, like Trevor was alluding to earlier about this being Andy Reid versus a former team that fired him after 14 seasons, I think he's going to go back to that bag of tricks that made the Eagles so successful all those years. When Donovan McNabb would check down to Brian Westbrook, to Staley, and let those running backs create their feet. I think it's going to be Jerick McKinnon paired with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, something that no one's expecting. No one's expecting Clyde to do shit in this game, which is why he's going to score a touchdown in this game. I'm going to say Clyde scores a touchdown in this game. Anytime touchdown. I'm talking receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to score a touchdown in this game.
Well, he was rolling before he got hurt.
He had 6 touchdowns in 7 games.
He's doing really well in the receiving game. Yeah. Yep.
My defensive player is somebody that does have expectations on them. Somebody that was picked in the first round this season. And it isn't who you think it's going to be. It's going to be Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie is going to have an interception in this game.
Love it, man.
We've been seeing Jalen Watson get the praise, as he should. Back-to-back postseason games as a sixth round cornerback, rookie cornerback, getting back-to-back interceptions against Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow. One guy was called the Prince of Promise. The other guy's been, he's the best quarterback in football. And he picked both those sons of bitches off in back-to-back postseason games. Everybody knows that Jalen Watson's going to come out here and want to play this big game. But it's the first-round pick that needs to rise to the occasion. And I think that Jalen Watson is going to get hit in the backfield, and the ball's going to go up, and Trent McDuffie's going to go up and grab that ball. Just what is it?
You said Jalen Watson. Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Watson. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is going to get hit in the backfield. Ball's going to go up, and Trent McDuffie's going to go up and stack that bitch. And that's going to be one of those icing on the cake kind of plays. Because we're going to see the Eagles in this game, later in the game, ramp it up, start chucking the ball down the field. And because of Jalen Watson, Jalen Hurts' inefficiencies, and because the Chiefs will get pressure on him, I'm going to see Trent McDuffie make a big play and get the turnover. Might be the only turnover in the game, I might add, and it's going to be a deciding factor in this game. Going to put the icing on the cake. Jerick McKinnon / Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Trent McDuffie. Trevor, who are yours?
I'm just going to go right off of what you just said. Trent McDuffie was my defensive guy.
Oh, okay.
So I'm with you on that and lock and step. So I do like Trent McDuffie to kind of be his coming out party. I mean, he's been good. He doesn't. No one's throwing his way that
right
way because he's been his hit fluidity and his ability to stay with guys, even guys like Jamar Chase, who he played well against in the Bengals.
Outside of some 50-50 balls to didn't do anything.
What I'm saying. Yeah, so he's been good. He just had the box score doesn't show it really, but he's not allowed much. So I do like Trent McDuffie. That's my guy as well. I said last game against the Bengals, I said George Karlaftis was my guy. He came up with a big time sack. That was a great moment for him, and I'm glad I saw that. And so I'm glad he had that moment. Could have another one this week as well. But I do like this is the moments for these rookies to kind of like really come into their own. And then the Super Bowl is no bigger. There's not a bigger moment for McDuffie to make a big play to really get the juices going for his future and his career here as a Chief. moving forward. So I do love that. That's my call as well. I like Trent McDuffie in this game, especially if Jalen's being forced to throw. I think he's going to throw some risky balls, and I think there's a great chance for him to go get one. So yeah, I love that pick. That's my guy as well. Offensively, I'm going back to this is my guy last week, and he got hurt. Kadarius Toney is going to be a future stud for this offense. And I truly, truly believe that. I really do. As long as he stays healthy, and I know that's a question mark right now, but he's such a young guy. A lot of things he can fix, and and work into his off-season workouts and things like that to kind of strengthen his body to withstand more things. And a lot of them again kind of fluky things. That little ankle roll last week, I don't think it was as big a deal as it was. He's practiced in full almost all week. I think he was a live participant to start the week, but he's been in full pretty much all week for the most part. The only guy that was limited, I believe, was L'Jarius Sneed. So I love this matchup for Kadarius Toney. I think this is an absolute blow-up spot for him. Like I said, that secondary can be had. They play a good scheme, but as far as one-on-ones, individual matchups with him, and because they're going to be focused a lot on Travis Kelce, and I still think Travis Kelce is going to eat. I don't want to throw Travis Kelce out there because I just told you that was my mismatch. But they're gonna try to bracket him,
right?
You know what I mean? I know that's going to draw a lot of safety play and things like that. So I think that's going to draw some safety ends to allow Kadarius Toney not only to eat after the catch, but maybe have some deep shots here. Because he can do that as well. He can go up and get those 50-50 balls. We see him adjust fucking gloves and go up and get 50-50 balls. This guy's a stud. This guy's a playmaker. And Patrick Mahomes, I think, is building trust with him. And I think there's going to be a game plan ready for Kadarius Toney to go out there and eat against that secondary, whether it's after the catch, whether it's 50-50 balls or get creative in the red zone.
Yeah,
we already seen Andy Reid drop numerous plays for him in the red zone. And with Nicole being out, a lot is on his kid's shoulders, and I think he's going to be up for the job here. So I love Kadarius Toney in this matchup. So Kadarius Toney and Trent McDuffie.
Like it.
Defensive wise, I'm going Frank Clark on this one.
There you go.
He's chasing that record. I know that. He smelled blood in the water
and that ring. He wants another one
since a divisional round. Yeah, because this could be his last Super Bowl appearance.
As you guys talked about, he wants another ring, gets close to that record. All of a sudden, the Hall of Fame isn't as insane as it sounds.
Another contract,
right?
And yeah. I'm going Frank Clark. Like I said, he's I think 3 sacks away from breaking that record, that playoff record. It's insane. I think he's very well aware of that, and I think he knows that he can achieve that in just one game. And I think this could be that game. The stage, everything to where you break the record in the Super Bowl, like Lance just said. I think that's what will probably push it to the Hall of Fame, because it's
look at the rest of the guys on that list, Hall of Famers,
the big time. I mean, you're stepping up in big time. So yeah, I'm gonna go Frank Clark. I think he's gonna get multiple sacks in this game.
There we go.
What
a statement that would be.
He's smelling blood in the water, and I think he's going to continue to smell blood in that water in that Super Bowl. Offensive player, I'm going to go Travis Kelce. That was my mismatch. It's just, I think Travis Kelce, regardless, double team, triple team, quadruple team, whatever you want to fucking call it.
This is the biggest moment of his career, bro.
I think this is, and we don't know how many more years of Travis Kelce we're going to get.
It's true.
So maximize everything, and I think he's very well aware of that. He is aging. He's not getting any younger. Obviously, his ability is going to start dwindling down as his age continues to get older.
Talk about history. He's inching closer to everything Jerry Rice postseason wise. Only Jerry Rice has more receptions, yards, and touchdowns than him in postseason history.
Yep.
So
yeah, and I'm sure they're very well aware of the records that could be broken. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Travis Kelce. I think he's gonna put up a couple of touchdowns and maybe get to 100 yards or 100 yards receiving.
I think there's a good chance Travis Kelce scores twice in this game. I do agree with that. I actually put a bet on that.
So I'm gonna go right back to you, Eddie. Score prediction:
35-31 Chiefs.
I like 30-24. I think the Chiefs win by 7. So for Chiefs concerns, there have been in our comments here asking about earlier on about the point spread. I like the Chiefs minus 6.5. So go with that one.
There's a certain poetic vibe to this game for a lot of reasons. We've already addressed the Kelce Bowl, Andy Reid going against the Eagles, Patrick Mahomes winning MVP by losing Tyreek Hill and having all these rookies to rely on. But there's also the fact that this is where it all started for this team this year. This spot, this doubt that came with that spot of, what are the Chiefs going to be? We have no idea what this offense is going to look like. Every single week we heard all these shows talk about they'll never be the same without Tyreek Hill. And they go into Arizona against a team that's supposed to be in the playoffs and dropped 44 points.
Yeah, we're not the same. We're better.
That's exactly it. That is exactly why I'm picking the Chiefs to score over 40 points in this game. Because this Eagles team has been continually praised as a world beater. And I want to give them all the respect for it. I had a monologue that was like 30 fucking minutes, and I appreciate Trevor and Eddie let me spiel. This is not a world-beating defense because Patrick Mahomes is the world's best quarterback, and you have to go through him first in order to be a world beater. This is going to be very similar, and I get it. The Cardinals are nowhere near the team the Eagles are. But this Chiefs team went in there and made a statement in week 1. They're going to go back in there and make a statement again in the final week of the season. I'm going to take it further because I'm going to say that I agree with Trevor. I think Travis Kelce gets multiple touchdowns in this game and separates himself from Gronk because right now they're tied with 15 postseason touchdowns. I think he separates himself. I'm going to say he gets around 9 catches for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns.
9 touchdowns, like Jesus Christ.
No, yeah, I'm not going to be that hyperbolic. But I'm reaching that level right now because I feel this good. I'm more confident about this game than I had the previous 2 Super Bowls before those games.
I have more comments about this game than I was the Bengals.
I feel so at ease about this one, and I'm going to raise the stakes. So I was looking up the numbers. The most touchdowns in a Super Bowl ever was Steve Young against the Chargers. In 1994, it was 6. The most yards in a Super Bowl game was Tom Brady against the Eagles. I think it was like 505. Patrick Mahomes is not going to reach either one of those numbers in this game. But there's never been a quarterback in the history of a Super Bowl to have at least 400 yards and 5 or more touchdowns until this Sunday. Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in this game against this Eagles team. And he's going to set a new narrative amongst all-time great quarterbacks. Because to Tom Brady's credit, because everybody loves talking about Super Bowl championships and how many he won, ironically, he lost that one. And Steve Young, that was the only Super Bowl he ever got to. And he had a great game, but it was against a very inferior opponent. That Chargers team was nowhere near that 49ers team, and Steve Young was amazing in that game. Patrick Mahomes is going to set himself apart in this one because the Chiefs are going to win this game by double digits. Patrick Mahomes is going to have one of the greatest games in Super Bowl history. In fact, I'll say it will end up being the greatest game we've ever seen a quarterback have in Super Bowl history. Chiefs are going to win this game 41-24.
Well, I mean, I think the Chiefs, to piggyback off that, I think the Chiefs' trends are going against top-tier defenses when having a healthy O-line, outside of obviously the Super Bowl against the Bucs, going against top-tier defenses. We tend to score a lot of points. We tend to run it up on them. 40 burgers have been the trend against those best defenses, you know what I mean? So the fact that we did it against the Niners this year, why couldn't we do it against the Eagles? You know what I mean? At the biggest stage when Patrick Mahomes knows what needs to be done. I agree with you. My score prediction, I'm trying to keep it like a little humble and moderate. I think 30 points is humble.
Totally get it.
You know what I mean? So I just think we win by at least 7. So that's why I have that 30-24 because I think both teams will put up some points, but I'm not going to even remotely question whether the Chiefs are capable of putting up 40 plus on this team. I think that's 100% in the outcome possibility. So I like it, man. I love it.
When you look at a defense that has not been tested in about 15, 16 weeks when it comes to facing just a top-tier quarterback whatsoever, when they face good ones, they get shelled. Knowing what Patrick Mahomes is, knowing that he's had 2 weeks to rest that ankle, knowing that he's been able to game plan, because, again, we don't even emphasize it here enough, that Andy Reid, after 10-plus days of rest or 10-plus days, the game plan is 24-6. After a bye week, it's even better. So knowing how much this game matters to Andy Reid, knowing how much this team wants to win this game for Andy Reid, knowing how prepared this team's going to be, knowing the significant advantage the Chiefs have at quarterback and head coach in itself is what's going to pay dividends for them. Did anybody in 2013 honestly believe that the Seahawks would beat the Broncos 43-8? But what happened? You saw a narrative change. You saw a swing in what took place. And everybody talks about, well, that's because they had the number 1 defense. No, It's because that game was the better team. And nobody picked. I had the Broncos winning that game by a substantial margin. Just like I had the Panthers beating the Broncos 3 years later because they had a broke-down quarterback. Crazy shit like this stuff that happens all the time. The Chiefs are not the favorites in this game. They're not the better overall team, but they have it where it counts. They have it where it matters most.
Sometimes it's simple, man. Sometimes it's simple.
Sometimes it's
better
simple.
Quarterback, better coach.
The matchup is simple.
And the matchup is it ain't like there's a massive mismatch on either side, but you got equal rosters, but you got one team has the far better coach and far better quarterback, and I'm going with that team.
Chiefs got the monkey off their back by beating the Bengals. After that, once they beat the Bengals, I knew no matter who they faced in the NFC, because also the fact we even addressed it in the show, the Chiefs I think won 4 straight games against NFC opponents, like 14 or 15 straight. They own the NFC since the last. Yes, even the Buccaneers, they've not lost a game to the Buccaneers to the NFC.
Because if we're being honest, the NFC is superior to the AFC. Far more talent overall.
My God,
not even just quarterbacks.
Guys, there's a serious argument that Dak Prescott is the best quarterback in that conference. Dak Prescott. Think about it. Outside of Jalen Hurts, outside of maybe Aaron Rodgers, that's what I'm saying. Like, look at when you rank all the quarterbacks across the league, the first 6, 7 are coming out of the AFC.
Yeah.
The first 6 or 7. Think about it. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. I know I'm forgetting people, so don't judge me, people. I wouldn't put 2 of there.
I mean, Derek Carr's solid quarterback.
Derek Carr's from the AFC, so you got to put Derek Carr up there. Outside of that, then it's like Dak Prescott. Then it's Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? Like, then you're starting to talk about these other guys.
Yeah.
That's what the NFC starts coming into.
Jalen Hurts is getting his praise this year, but he's taking advantage of a great situation, and kudos to him. But I mean, statistically, granted, his running ability is incredible, but he's overachieving a little bit this year. He's getting a little bit of, honestly, a little bit of unfair expectations on his side. Like, I think the expectations for Jalen Hurts at this point have been a little unfair to him as far as what he's actually accomplished in his career.
And we don't know how healthy he is.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing right here. It's a throwing shoulder.
I don't even know if he said 2, but 2 is also in the
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if I wanted to put 2 in there yet. Jalen Hurts is better than it.
2 was the better quarterback.
I would say Jalen's better than 2. I would say that.
And what injury took out Cam Newton?
The shoulder, exactly.
Throwing shoulder injury.
Yeah,
right.
First quarterbacks. And I love, and like I said, just like the Alex Smith comparison, which is fair. I know Jalen's in a much better situation. This roster is absolutely loaded, and it's in a weak division, the NFC. But Jalen's a great guy, man. Like, you can't not love the guy. Like, his story and the way his humility and his stoic persona is great. And I love and respect it. And I want to have a good game, but I hope we destroy you guys. I mean, so.
All right, that is our predictions for Super Bowl 57. They're done. Let us know what you guys think, because we've said all we need to say about this matchup. I think we pretty much nailed every single thing we needed to check. It's your. You let us know what you guys think. What is your predictions? What are your thoughts? How do you see this matchup going? What are key matchups for you? And how do you see this thing shaking down? Let us know on YouTube. Subscribe, hit notifications, and chat with us. Let's get to the Eddie hour. I think Eddie's got a few questions at least when it comes to the world of sports across the landscape. Never know what Eddie's going to bring up. Never tell him what to bring up. It's always his. It's his time. Eddie, what's going on in the Eddie hour?
Yeah, all I know is your comments are going crazy today.
Good.
They're active today.
It's good.
But I'm going to go with our good old friend Dougie. He says, if you win the coin toss, are you taking the ball to set the tone, or if the defense is ready?
I see. This is a good question, because I think it really just comes down to how you see the matchup going early in the game. Because to the Eagles' credit, they're a team that likes to answer first. But let's say your defense goes out there and gets a 3 and out, then it's an advantage, because now you have really 2 first possessions. Because then you get a possession early in the game, and then you get the possession after kickoff in the second half. So I like the way Andy does that, because if the Chiefs had the inferior quarterback, I would like for us to get the ball first so we can see what our offense can do and see if we can get an early score. Then they have to kind of play catch up with us. But because I know we have Patrick Mahomes, who's the greatest comeback quarterback of all time, the most clutch quarterback we've ever seen, that's statistically proven, I'm okay with us kicking first. So to answer the question, if we win the toss, I'm okay with us deferring.
Yeah, I think that's Andy Reid, what he does most of the time. Anytime we win the toss, we most likely are deferring, which I am for, because, like you said, even if the Eagles, which is, I will say, statistically, they were the best first quarter offense in the league this year. They scored almost every single time on their first opening drives. They're incredible at that. Granted, they didn't play very many good defenses. I'll say that as well. But at the same time, even if they go score, a field goal or a touchdown on their opening drive, cool. And we go do the same thing on our next possession. Game starts over, right? And then if we gain momentum, we get a stop on that next position of theirs, and we score another. You know what I mean? So, like, if it comes down to points chasing, I'm taking the Chiefs every single time. And if we get the ball in the second half and we gain momentum, which we do a lot of times, gain momentum going into the half, and then we get the ball with that momentum to start the second half, that's what matters. The third quarter is the most pivotal quarter of any of the sport. Just how the second half starts and the game is tight, and you have the momentum. That's huge. That's huge going into football games. So, especially even in sports in general, even just like in basketball, third quarter is such a pivotal point of the game. So, I would defer. I would like to test the Eagles and see if they can go. And I get it. Respect to them, but they have as far if I'm a betting person, I bet they would go get at least 3 on their opening drive because they've been that good all year at doing that. So, yeah, I would defer if I won the coin toss just because I like Patrick Mahomes opening the second half of the ball. I would prefer that. Yeah.
Let's talk NBA. Holy fuck, was it an interesting Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday. I want your reactions to the trades, but I want to focus on 3 teams: Lakers, Mavericks, and the Suns. We'll start with the Lakers and then move our way down. Thoughts on the whole Lakers trade down the deadline?
Simple and plain, the Lakers got significantly better. How significantly better, we'll find out. But the one thing that was missing from this Lakers team was what? Shooting. They had none of it.
One-on-one scores.
Now they have 3 guys that can shoot. In particular, D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley both shoot over 38% from 3. So these are the kind of guys that LeBron James has always succeeded with. And if Anthony Davis stays healthy at all, this becomes a team that's going to get one of the top 5 seeds in the Western Conference.
Well, D'Angelo is been a part of the Lakers nation before. Right?
And he's matured. He's 26 years old now. This is an opportunity for him to really get that second chance at becoming a Laker that he always envisioned him being. So this is a great opportunity for the Lakers. I don't think they're a title contender still, but the Western Conference is so wide open. A couple lucky breaks here and there where, I hate to say this, but let's just discuss it. If a Jokic was to go down with an injury, if Curry doesn't get back and he's never the same this year,
KD's not healthy again.
All of a sudden, it's like 1 or 2 teams that can really be in the way of the Lakers. And if I am a betting man and there's only the Suns against LeBron James and Anthony Davis and those shooters, I would have to think twice about who I'm picking. I mean, Suns would still probably be the better team, but knowing what LeBron can do in the postseason,
depth is gone.
I'm just saying, so there's opportunity for the Lakers as it currently stands. Though they're on 5-6 seed in the West right now, and I think they got better. That's all that really matters right now. Give them a chance to contend.
Yeah, the West is open right now, and the trades that the Lakers absolutely got better, but a lot of other teams got better, in my opinion. So it is tough to call them a contender at the moment because the West is wide open, but it is very competitive.
Yeah,
man. There's a lot of talent in the West.
It's very top heavy.
Yeah. So and the Kings are climbing those charts. The Kings are coming for that second spot right now. The Kings are 3 games back from the Grizzlies for the second seed in the West, which is incredible. I love my Kings.
I still got to see the Kings do something in the playoffs before I buy into it.
Sure.
I'm so happy for what they're doing
They're
this
only
year.
The best offense in the league.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get
it. They scored 130 again the other night. So, that's 13 times they've scored 130 plus this year. It's insane.
Yeah.
And they also, and I don't know if you saw, De'Aaron Fox actually made it to the All-Star game. He's actually reserved. So both Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox are All-Stars.
Beyond deserving. Beyond deserving.
Much kudos to them. I love those guys. The first to do it in the Kings since 2004 when Peja Stojakovic and Brad Miller made it, which is a cool thing to see, man. But yeah, the Lakers, man, they definitely. I love the D'Lo trade. I'm a D'Lo fan as far as talent. I think the guy's got a lot of talent. He's got a bag. That dude's got a handle. He's got a jump. He's got an ability to get it to the rack and finish. Very solid pickup for them. A guy that's known, been a part of this franchise's organization before, had some hiccups with the organization, had some personal issues and immaturity issues. But there's a lot of immaturity issues at the time he was here. Nick Young's.
Plus, him and Kobe didn't vibe.
Yeah. And Kobe was, trending towards it out in a lot of ways too. So there was a lot of animosity built there with the immaturity. So I love the moves of the Lakers now. I think Malik Beasley is a good addition, a good guy to come up. It can even start or come off the bench in rotation. The D'Lo trade for sure was a big move, a big acquisition as far as offensive guys. They do need to work on their defense. Their defense has been pretty bad. I think a lot of that does hinge with AD's health. Being that guy that they need defensively to be that kind of do-it-all defensive player. So once they kind of get it all going and everyone's kind of getting their chemistry down, I think they can make a nice run towards the end of the year. But they don't have a lot of time left. They got to get it together. But I do like them for sure. I think that the Lakers definitely got better.
All right, now we move on to the Dallas Mavericks.
Shit. 2-0 since they traded. I mean,
I don't buy it.
Right.
I don't buy it at all. This is one of those things where you want to buy into it because of the talent and potential of a player like Kyrie Irving. But guys, it's been proven now for how many years the only place that Kyrie can win is wherever LeBron James is. It's a fact. It's not an opinion. This man has played with 5, 6 other Hall of Fame players in their primes, and he's won jack shit. He's not a leader. He's a very odd dude, and he burns the bridge wherever he goes. That is exactly what's going to happen in Dallas. Luka and him together is going to be fun, and I like it. It's cool. The problem, though, is they're both extremely ISO players. They have the 2 highest ISO points per ISO in the league, outside of like Dame Lillard. It's not going to work. It's going to be fun for the rest of the season, and they go in the playoffs. They're going to lose in 6 games to somebody. Maybe in the second round, maybe.
I haven't finals played.
I don't buy it.
That was the finals before Kyrie got
I'm
there.
putting it out there right now, Eddie. I love Luka. I love Kyrie's talent. Them together, I don't buy it. I don't think it's going to succeed.
Yeah, I don't blame you for having that opinion. It is a strange. We haven't seen him. Luka's been out the last few games.
Well, you know that Josiah only stepped into Dallas because he didn't want to stay in the Lakers. That's where Kyrie wanted to
get
go.
anything to do, and he let KD pick where he wanted to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Granted.
KD hasn't done.
Granted, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Kyrie kind of had it coming with the bad karma he created for himself.
That's true.
If I'm being honest,
That is true.
He kind of burned a lot of bridges. So it is what it is. I would have loved to see him in a Lakers uniform. That would have been a great addition. I really
burned the Celtics bridge, Cavs bridge, Jeff bridge. He burned them all.
And it also came out that Kyrie's preferred destination was the Lakers. So he definitely wanted to have that reunion with LeBron, which would have been beautiful. I would have much taken that over D'Lo, but D'Lo is a decent player to add to it as well. So, I like the move though. Me personally, I think it's working. They just beat the Kings last night. You know, Kings were at full strength. You know, they beat us straight up without Luka, and Kyrie's been balling ever since it's been the last 2 weeks, or last 2 games. So it's working there, but I am interested to see the dynamic, how it flows with Luka. But Luka's never had an offensive player like Kyrie on his side, so this is a cool thing to see. You know, with Christian Wood healthy now, Christian Wood played pretty well against us last night, against the Kings last night. So if they can make that kind of their big 3 with Christian Wood, Kyrie, and Luka. With some good rotational defensive players and that team, and Jason Kidd as the coach, who I like a lot. I think they could make something out of that as well. But I like the addition of the offensive prowess that is Kyrie Irving, a guy that can go get you 30, 40 any given night. And then Luka, facilitating the game and kind of getting his triple-double numbers and things like that. And it is they are 2 ball dominant guys, and that tends to not work a lot of times. It's not like Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Devin Booker's not like a guy that needs the ball in his hand with the handle and creating his own shots. He's a kind of a catch and shoot kind of guy and creating, mid-post, mid-range jumpers and things like that. So I am interested to see how it works. I had the Mavs in the finals before the season started. That was my pick. So yeah, I don't know. This is kind of a wait to see approach for me, but anytime you add Kyrie's offensive prowess to any team, it's going to obviously bump up the numbers there. So we'll see how it goes.
Talking about the Mavericks, the Dallas Mavericks have emerged as the front runners to sign Terrence Ross once the buyout is complete.
Solid pickup. So it's solid. I mean, I don't know how much of a difference maker he'll be, but yeah, it's solid. It's a guy you're 8 man, 9 man. That's fine, whatever. I know the next question is Phoenix, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Blockbuster, man.
Ceiling, this team wins the finals. Basement, they lose in the first round. And I think the first round thing is a very real thing. You know why? We have no idea if KD's going to be healthy for the rest of this year. Yep. And Chris Paul has officially hit the wall. He's still an effective player, but you can tell Chris Paul's old now. He looks old. His numbers are all down across the board. Devin Booker is an elite scorer, but he's a terrible defender. And what's his name? Andre Ayton does not want to be there. He stayed there because they paid him an insane amount of money.
Well, he's there. He's happy there now. He's got that bag.
He got the bag, but he still doesn't want to be there. You can tell. This team is a big old bundle of dynamite, and it really depends on where you light it that makes it what it is. Because if you light it in your own place, fuck it, it just blows everybody up. You throw it out there, it's fun to watch, and it can be cool. I think that this team has a real chance of winning the title, but I think they really I think they're going to be that team that disappoints. The cool thing for the Suns, though, is they have KD for another 3 years, and there are rumors that Kyrie would want to join KD in Phoenix if it ends up happening, if he doesn't end up going to the Lakers next season. So there's moving parts, and I guess only half of CP3's contract next year is fully guaranteed. So like 15 of the 30 is guaranteed. They can pay that out and they can ship him off. Or he can retire, whatever the case is. So I think it's somewhere in between. I think they're going to disappoint. I think they're going to probably lose the semifinals to some team that they probably shouldn't lose to, but because of the fact that they're old and they're injured, I think they're going to fall short.
Yeah, this was the biggest trade of the trade deadline for sure. KD was playing at an MVP level when he was healthy this year. It was fun to watch. The guy was absolutely just shredding teams and just going off. Nobody could stop him. The guy continues to have ankles and knees injuries and things like that continue to hamper him. And that's the biggest question in this trade. This trade is they're the deadliest team in the West if this trio is healthy and at full strength going into the postseason. I don't think anybody wants to see them, East or West. This is just Devin Booker is one of the best scorers in the league, one of the best mid-range shooters, and an absolutely deadly three-point shooter, and a guy that can just score with the best of them. We've seen it numerous times. He plays well in the postseason too. He's not a guy that disappears in the postseason. He plays well. And then KD obviously is a top 10 all-time player, most likely at the end of his career. You know what I mean? So, and then Chris Paul, all he really needs to do at this point is facilitate and go get 10, 12 points. That's really all Chris Paul needs to do at this point. He doesn't need it. He's definitely hit the wall. He's not the player he used to be, and he's done nothing but fail in the postseason when it's come to big, having big three, and he's had so many opportunities to succeed in the postseason. He's never really been the guy that really is the guy to succeed in those moments. But this is a deadly team, man. 100%. I don't have faith in the Nuggets. They're a fun team. I love Jokic. He's probably going to get another MVP this year, 3 straight, which is insane. I think Larry Bird's the last guy to do that, 3 straight. I think we discussed that before. So for him to do that, which is looking likely, unless Luka just has an absolute stellar finish of the season somehow, or Giannis, I think they're the only 2 guys in my mind. Maybe Jason Tatum has a chance. If they get the 1 seed and he absolutely goes off, there's a chance there. But Jokic's failures in the postseason and the Nuggets' failures in the postseason just doesn't. I don't take them seriously as much as I want to. I just can't. So I think the Phoenix Suns have a great opportunity here to make a run, and I don't take the Grizzlies seriously either. They're too immature in my mind. They don't have the internal fortitude, I think, to succeed in the postseason. And they're the 2 seed right now. So, I think the Phoenix Suns are the new team that you needed to have a reckoning with, because I think that's just far too much talent. And I will say, though, they lost a lot of rotational pieces and a lot of depth. And when it comes to the postseason, if one of those 3 guys goes down and you don't have the depth to overcome that, that's massive. So depth is huge, and I think that's kind of what the Lakers have been doing lately. They've been doing a nice rotation of guys.
I think the Nets kind of got gypped on the trade.
Yeah, they lost that trade.
Mikal Bridges is the centerpiece. Mikal Bridges is a good player,
solid guy.
Come on,
good 3-and-D guy.
He's not going to be a franchise building block.
And it's not like but they didn't even get a lot of. They got some second rounders and
they essentially got the same trade that Rudy Gobert got with the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
Really, you got the same thing for Kevin Durant.
And it was crazy too, because they hurt themselves because of their own ego, because they didn't want to trade Kyrie to the Lakers, and the Lakers had a better package deal to give them.
With an expiring contract.
They were going to give them multiple first-round picks.
Yes.
For Kyrie, and the Mavs didn't do that. You know what I mean? Right. So they literally hurt themselves just because of pride, because they didn't want to ship Kyrie, which is he's going to the West either way.
Yeah.
You don't have to. It's crazy. So this is silly. The ownership over there is so bad, and it just goes to show why Kyrie and KD wanted out of there. You know what I mean? So I don't blame them for that either. Granted, they have their own personal issues, more Kyrie than KD. But yes, the Suns are a force to be reckoned with at this point. Depending on KD's health is where I'll really lean once I see them kind of together and KD's healthy. But that is not to be promised. At this point in KD's career, he's an older guy now. These injuries tend to linger a little bit more. He's not a big frame guy where he's like a solid frame guy and takes care of himself like a LeBron would, or guys like that. So, once these joints start going on you, betray him, and you're a lanky guy like that, you gotta be careful, man. So, As of now, though, I do think that was the best trade. I think that was the best acquisition for a team that needed a guy like that, a second absolute sharp-shooting scorer that can score 50 at any point of any game. That's huge for that Suns team, man. That takes a lot of pressure off Booker for sure. To not have to be that guy night in, night out. When he's been that guy night in, night out before. But now you have KD alongside you. That's the best scoring prowess I think in the NBA at this point now. Those two guys together is scary.
Chiefs concern says not buying Phoenix with all the injury history with those guys and no depth.
For sure, that's a legitimate.
It's hard to disagree.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Lamar Wallace. The perception of Kyrie is crazy. Talking heads like Stephen A. Smith helped build this narrative of Kyrie being a bridge burner, bad teammate, and so on. Yet I haven't heard an actual teammate said the same about Kyrie like the media has been portraying him out to be.
Hold on.
Well, I mean, did you watch him in Boston? Yeah.
Lamar's my guy. I love him to death. And him and I have never really had this conversation before. Stephen A. Smith is paid to react to things, which means that Stephen A. didn't make up anything. And unless you want to show me where Stephen A. made up anything, and I'm not trying to go on a defense here for Stephen A., but I know he's directly talking about guys like Stephen A. As I recall, there was a lot of problems and turmoil with the Cavaliers, and he demanded to get traded after he had already said, I'm staying here with LeBron. It was weeks later. He said, I'm demanding a trade. They facilitated that trade. Went to Boston, said, I'll stay here if you guys will have me. 2 weeks later, demands a trade.
He had the whole speech in the arena.
Then goes back there and steps on the little logo and does that whole thing.
It's just toxic.
The biggest thing with me, and I'm not going to go on a tangent about his off court stuff because you can have your own opinion on those things. I'm going to probably disagree with you on them because there were some very reckless, irresponsible things he did and then wanted to act like he's such a bold person but then never wants to actually answer the questions. You can't tell me that a guy like this with the talent he has is getting moved as much as he has and he doesn't have a problem. Why has Russell Westbrook been on 5 teams in the last 5-6 years? Because he doesn't know how to play team basketball.
Right.
Is it because he's a bad guy? No. Russell's a great dude. Everybody, you always hear about people loving Russell Westbrook. Yeah. Everybody loves Russell Westbrook. But he doesn't know how to play team basketball. Doesn't set screens, doesn't move with the offense, doesn't take smart shots, he plays his own style, and that's all he cares about. Why is Kyrie Irving playing on his 4th team in the last 5 years? Is it because he doesn't know how to play team basketball? No. In fact, he plays very good team basketball. That man knows how to do that stuff. So what is it? Am I supposed to just sit here and believe that this guy is just innocently being victimized and portrayed in a negative light and just so happens to keep moving from team to team to team? He can't win unless he plays with LeBron James? I'm just supposed to believe that's a coincidence? Come on, man. Like, I respect Lamar. I respect everybody that feels that way, but I see it completely different. There's always – math always adds up. There's always something. And like the whole adage where there's smoke, there's fire, that is what I believe is going on with the current situation with Kyrie Irving because of the fact that there's always smoke around this dude.
And with Lamar's point saying, questioning whether any teammates have come out and said anything, that is not necessarily the point. Kyrie might have been a great teammate, might have been boys with everybody he played with. That's not the point, though. There could be a lot of issues that he's caused within a franchise, within an organization issue. There's been organizational issues everywhere he's gone. You know what I mean? Whether it's ego, whether it's –
when it's always everybody else's fault, that's what I have a problem.
I'm sure there's stories to both sides. I'm sure there's been people that have done him wrong, but he's obviously played a part in doing of some of the wrong.
Right.
He's got a massive ego, and we get it. But he's tend to overstep his bounds and overstep certain cross lines that shouldn't be crossing. And I get it. I'm all for player empowerment and all the things like that, but the guy just – he puts his foot in his own mouth way too many times.
Well, yeah, he screams for attention, gets it, and then wants to play like, oh, man, why is everybody asking me all these questions?
And then he apologizes.
And then the moment he leaves Brooklyn, he takes that apology down.
Right.
Like, come on, man. I'm a big Kyrie guy. I love watching Kyrie play basketball, but come on, we're not going to sit here and pretend like this guy hasn't put himself in this position.
Take some accountability that needs to be taken by Kyrie. He may have been a great teammate, which is why probably nobody's really come out and said anything bad about him. He's probably a good guy to his teammates.
Sure.
He's a good team player.
And he's an intellectual. Like this guy can articulate a thought. He's probably had great conversations with other grown men.
But you don't become. He's an elite talent that's become a journeyman.
And
that's a problem.
And he's a philanthropist.
Right.
This dude starts businesses, donates money. He does a lot of great things.
Culture, for
so I'm not gonna sit here and say this dude's some demon.
Yeah.
But he's done some things. You're like, dude, what the fuck, bro? Like, really? And now you want to act like you're surprised by all the. You're a superstar athlete.
Yeah,
you went to Duke.
That's a
you were the first overall pick.
Yeah.
You have the greatest shot in NBA history. Yeah. Like, you're going to be noticed. When you post stuff on your Instagram, people are going to pay attention to these things. You can't expect the world to not pay attention. Like, what is this? Why did you put it out there unless you were hoping to get attention? Why would you say certain things unless you were expecting attention?
At the end of the day, this is a job. You're working for a company. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that you can be an individual you want, but
be a businessman or be a solo act.
It's a job, man.
Yeah. You play a team sport. You can't Tiger Woods this thing. You can't Serena Williams this thing. You play a team sport. You got to play according to the team sport.
Yeah. I want to talk about Russell Westbrook. Do you think he's going to play with the Utah Jazz, or you think they're going to reach some sort of buyout? Because there are two teams that would really want to sign Russell Westbrook, and the LA Clippers, as they've made it very well known with Paul George, pretty much coming out and saying that they would love having Russell Westbrook. Also, Billy Donovan down in Chicago has also mentioned that he would love to add Russell Westbrook to his team. Do you see him going to one of those destinations in a possible buyout, or do you think he stays with the Jazz?
There's a 0% chance he plays with the Jazz. Biggest reason why? He has terrible history with the Jazz. This man's gotten almost multiple fights with fans in Utah, and Utah is not exactly, as we like to say, color friendly.
Yeah, the irony there.
There's a lot of problems in that city with people of different ethnicities than white. So I don't think Russell Westbrook wants to play there. Also, the fact it's more of an attractive thing for him than his current stature of his career in his 30s to go play for a team that's actually got a chance of winning anything. I'm not saying Chicago does, but I'm saying that he has a relationship with Billy Donovan. He knows Billy will let him play his game, and that's very important to him. L.A., him and Paul George play together in OKC. He stays in L.A. where he's wanted to be, where he's been for the last couple of years. What I'm basically saying is, because of these offers being out there, it makes even more sense for him to leave Utah. But even if they weren't, I have a hard time believing he plays a single dribble for the Utah Jazz based upon what we know about that team, what we know about that city, and what we know about the guy that runs that team. And I'm not going to go any further.
Yeah, I don't know where he's going to. He's probably going to play for 3 more teams this season. I don't know. Look, I love Russ, man. I love competitors like that. I love guys that are just all passion, all gas, no break. Like, I love guys like that. But it's fun for entertainment. It's fun to watch him, do things. And when he was the guy in OKC, that was so fun to watch. When he was like the lone guy left from the it was fun to watch, but they never won shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of the story of Russell Westbrook, man. That's kind of what he's been, and he's going to have incredible stats by the end of his career. He's going to be a Hall of Famer for sure. But if he goes to the Bulls, if he goes to the Clippers, I just don't see him helping and being like that guy that puts a team over the top. This is not who he's ever been. You know what I mean? He's actually better as a solo act, for being honest. That's how he just works. So if he goes to the Bulls, I mean, it's not going to be it could be a good role in the Bulls because they don't really have a true point guard that, they have 2 really good scorers in DeRozan and Lvii, guys that aren't like true facilitating guards. So that might work, being a guy that can maybe go in there, facilitate, get his triple doubles and the dish to those guys and create plays for them. That might work. The Clippers, I don't see that working. We've seen him with Paul George, and we've seen guys, play together that just didn't mesh that well.
But Clippers might want him though because he plays every game.
Well, true. And
we know Kawhi doesn't.
They did just lose Reggie Jackson and John Wall.
Yeah.
So they might need a guy to facilitate.
Might be the best available.
That might be. You know what? True. That might be a good move too as well. So those 2 teams I think are likely and could happen. Because I don't think he finishes the season with the Jazz. So if he does go to one of those 2 teams, I think those would be the only 2 teams I really think he can go in actually. Because those are 2 teams I think could compete. Obviously, the Bulls competing in the East, making a possible run because they're a talented team with Vucevic and DeRozan and Levine. That's a talented offense. Don't believe in them really, but they could have a decent chance in the playoffs, maybe to get past the first round. Blah blah blah. But I think the Clippers are super talented now because Kawhi can stay healthy. I think it would be an upgrade. I know that's a massive question. We can talk about KD being healthy in the Suns. Let's talk about the Clippers. Who knows what their rotation is on a nightly basis? But Paul George is absolutely incredible. Paul George is still one of the best players in the league.
Healthy.
A guy that crumbles in the postseason as well. So if they can go get another guy that collapses in the postseason like Russ, that'd be a great acquisition. You know what I mean? So, I think for him, I think success wise, I think the Bulls are probably the best spot because it is in the East, and the East is a little less talented, I believe, in the West, especially with KD and Kyrie moves. That opens up a lot in the East. So I think if you could put them over there with that Bulls team, that could be a missing link that they might need.
Don't let our guy Marcus Dash from Chief Concerns hear this, but it's a 2-team race in the Eastern Conference. It's in Celtics and the Bucks.
Don't sleep on the Cavs, man.
I love Joel Embiid.
Don't sleep on the Cavs.
The Sixers are fun. They do not have a shot at beating one of those teams in the postseason. Sorry, Marcus.
We'll see. I don't believe in the Bucks, but yeah.
OKC is such a young team. Obviously, with SGA, it's very fun to watch. Just watched the Thunder beat the Lakers on LeBron James night.
Yeah.
What can the Oklahoma City Thunder do to pretty much keep SGA happy in OKC, and what can they do to help him elevate this very young team?
I think this team needs like an actual because something Colin Cowherd says that I actually really agree with is that football you look for culture, and basketball you look for elements. They need more elements to their game because right now they're so damn young, like you said. Like they have so much youth. But in order to win in the NBA, you have to have those veteran players that get you over the edge. Those others, as Shaq likes to call them. All the Lakers teams that won in the early 2000s, they had the Robert Horrys and Derek Fishers to help them get it over the edge. The Celtics in the mid 2000s and late 2000 or mid 2010s, they had James Posey and Rajon Rondo and those others. The Thunder don't have those guys. They just have a lot of good young talent. Mm-hmm. If you go and add a couple big pieces that are 28 to 32 years old that can knock down shots and defend on the perimeter, all of a sudden SGA's job not only gets easier, but then the world starts to pay attention to the Thunder again because they're going to win 56 to 60 games. SGA is becoming a superstar in this league. He is already one of the 15 best players in this game. And if you get him just a couple veterans, just a couple guys that you can rely on to play 70 to 75 games a year, this team becomes a title contender. And it's not crazy to say that. So that's what they need. They need direction of how to get those elements in place. Once they do that, this team takes that next massive stride. Not a step, a stride.
Yeah, I think people are forgetting that they have Chet looming too. I think
there you go.
A versatile big who I think is a looming star in this league.
Yeah.
I think that guy is potential for this league. In today's league, he's perfect for this.
But even to that credit, he's 20.
Well, I mean,
19, 20.
He has some Dirk and some KD in his game.
Yeah.
He has a handle for a big guy. He's long and lanky, just like KD is. He's got a jumper out there. He can shoot from anywhere. He can post up. He's extremely tall, obviously, and he's quick. That guy, if he can stay healthy, because a lot of guys like that do tend to get banged up, and he's already dealing with that Liz Frank or whatever. So yeah, that was
the Broncos guarded him too.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. He shouldn't have been out there. He had no business being out there in my mind. But he's going to be. I think he's going to be a budding star in this league pretty quickly.
Better be. So much talent.
Well, I'm saying you throw him in the mix. They've got multiple first round picks coming up. They can either trade those for some free agents in the league, or just absolutely just load up. And the future for OKC is so bright, man. And I like Giddey. I like a lot of the guys I have on the team already. You throw Chet in the mix for next season, of seasons moving forward. You maybe trade up a couple of those first round picks to go get a guy next year. Or the next coming draft. So you can move up to get the number 1 pick, number 2 pick, whatever you want. So they got so much.
Like if he had a Chris Middleton, that team could win the West. With let's say Chet becomes that star Trevor's talking about. I'm saying like if Chet becomes the guy that you're saying like a Kevin Durant, Dirk kind of person, right? Yeah. You add a Chris Middleton type of guy with SGA. Is that not a 2 seed, 1 seed in the West?
I don't think Chris Middleton moves the needle for me that much.
Oh,
I don't.
Man,
you got to understand the way the Bucks are built. Chris Middleton's thrived off of how that Bucks team is built off the defense in the back of Giannis.
Sure, but I'm saying that
he benefits from Giannis more than Giannis benefits from him.
But Chris Middleton's like that Scottie Pippen, and SGA is quickly becoming that star talent. You add Chris Middleton as that sidekick piece, a guy that can pop from the outside and play good defense.
Yeah,
or even you take it further. Like a Klay Thompson type of guy. You add a Klay Thompson, all of a sudden you're talking about Bogdanovich, even lower grade on Bogdanovich. That becomes a team that's a top 3 seed in the West.
Yeah. No, and that, man, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is, I don't think there's a better situation right now than the OKC, where OKC's at.
Potential
you have a young possible superstar in the next couple of years in SGA who could be a superstar.
Yes.
One of the best scorers in the league, one of the best one-on-one players in the
Gabe
league.
looks easy to him, man.
So he does. He plays his fluidity.
Slow. It was like slow, but like it looks like it's efficient.
It's almost D Wade prime D.
Yes.
Wade. He's not as explosive as D Wade was, like slashing and dunking on people. But the way he'll back people down, fake to the left, and
poetry in motion, man.
Like
Very
hit a bank shot. Like he's incredible, man. His mid post game is incredible for a guy for a guard like that.
I like how he shoots his free throws like he has attitude. His little hip pops out when he shoots his free throws.
He's confident as hell, man. He wasn't an all-star. He wasn't an all-star this year. Just throw that out there. He wasn't an all-star.
I can't believe that, man.
Yeah. So I love what OKC's doing. I think they're coaching and everything. Their organization's heading in the right direction. They absolutely are loaded up. They can do whatever they want with those picks. They can create a Golden State situation here if they hit the strike gold and a few of their picks. Absolutely could happen. That's how Golden State got to where they were. They struck gold. They had a lot of picks, and they nailed those picks. Obviously, the greatest team ever assembled.
Let's not pretend the Thunder haven't been a franchise that haven't nailed picks in the past either.
Yeah,
Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Steven Adams. Like,
granted, a lot of those names and organizations are gone, but they've got a new youth movement that they're dealing with.
And I have a hard time believing they'll make the same mistake again, where if they get themselves a trio again of star players, they're not going to pay that third guy.
Yeah. But if Chet becomes,
is not stingy.
You can't make that mistake again, man.
They have way too many picks to be stingy, man. They can either trade some of those, move up in the draft, trade some for free agents, or just use them in general. Yep. And if Chet becomes the guy who I think he will be, who he was in college, my God, that's going to be a nice little duo tandem there. They can find a third that make it a trio, man. And then just add depth and rotational guys that can shooters and 3D guys. That organization is in the right direction, man, for sure. I'm excited to see what they do.
Lamar Wallace says, nice speech, Lance. SGA won't be in OKC too much longer. The Thunder are a talent pool for the other 29 teams in the NBA.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Who
they traded away?
Well, James Harden. They traded Russell Westbrook too, didn't they?
Yeah. I'm saying that was before this regime is here. This is a whole new regime.
Yeah, well, Sam Presti still runs the team, doesn't he?
But they traded away those guys because they bought into SGA.
Right.
They're building something new here.
Right.
I mean, they traded away those guys because those guys failed.
Yeah,
and they went up against LeBron. And that era was over.
It's a valid thing to say though. The Thunder have been that. Like, you remember how the Royals were always talking about is the minor league. Sam Presti still runs. Okay. You remember how, what I'm saying? Like, you build the talent and then other teams come swoop in and trade for them. That's why the Thunder have had so many picks.
No, they have so many picks because they traded away those big three guys. But that's
what he was literally saying.
No. But they didn't get those three guys that same way. This is a different way of they're doing it. They're trying to build around someone now. They didn't get Kate. They hit gold on those picks because some of those guys. Yeah, James Harden fell further than he should have. Russell Westbrook obviously was a gold mine pick. He fell further than he should have. They nailed those picks, but they didn't have a plethora of picks that they do now. They have so many picks that are in the they can move up and do things.
That's why I built my case on the scenario of them building around SGA, not moving off.
Yes.
I'm only reacting to what Lamar's saying because it's fair. Because to this point, they have been that franchise that have been trading away superstar talents. You can't ignore that. They traded away Serge Ibaka. They traded away Steven Adams. They traded away Russell Westbrook. They traded away James Harden. They didn't give Katie what he wanted. I mean, they did.
But they weren't like they were a bad team. They weren't like the
Royals. No, not at all. Not at all.
That was a championship caliber team, and they failed. They're like, you know what? We need to start fresh. We need to wipe the slate clean.
But that was the reason they traded Russell and James Harden away for over $4 million.
Yeah.
They didn't want to pay the tax money. It was like,
and James Harden won a whole lot since then. Right?
He's a Hall of Fame player.
Just saying, no, for sure. But
he won MVP like 2 years after.
But he's won jack shit. I'm saying that was a smart move for them.
Okay, he's one of the greatest players who've ever played this game.
Who won that?
I would say James Harden.
Okay,
he won MVP.
Okay, dude.
What have the Thunder done since?
No. But I'm saying if they build around this after moving off from those guys, and they build around SGA, who is honestly better in my mind than James Harden is at this point. I think he is better than this at this point. But
I think we forget how great James Harden was, bro. Like,
I'm not saying
he's that anymore.
I'm talking about right now.
Absolutely now. Yeah, I thought you meant like it's like James Harden's like peak.
I think this was the right.
James Harden's peak was like 33, 12, and 9, dude.
I think it was the right move for them, bro.
Okay,
I really do. I think that what they're doing right now is the right direction, building around youth because we've seen what the Grizzlies have been doing. We've seen these younger teams, obviously Luka being the young star, building around them. I'm just saying, man. I think
That's
that's
why I
the
hate you
smart
guys.
move.
You guys do this to me. You make me defend guys I'm not even a big fan of. Like, I'm not even a big fan of James Harden. I'm over here champion for my
I
guy.
actually am a fan of James
He's
Harden.
so inefficient.
He's not a winner.
Turnover prone.
He's not a winner, man.
Yeah,
He's
jacks
not.
up threes left and right, but the numbers and what he's done is
For
going to
sure.
put him in the Hall of
He's
Fame.
going to be Hall of Famer for sure. For sure.
I'll save the obvious question for the end for NBA. I'm sure you guys know what the obvious question is. We'll wait for that. But I want to talk UFC. Obviously, big fight card tonight. We were all waiting for this for a while. I actually sent you guys the screenshot when it was made official, and you were like, "Fuck," because we all agreed what the next fight should be of Volkanovski. I don't know what other fights you want to talk about. I know I want to talk about the co-main event and the main event.
Let's just talk about the top 2 fights.
Okay, the top 2 fights. Yair Bandera Rodriguez going against Josh Emmett.
Yeah,
Man, this is such a tough fight too, man. Like these
two totally different fighters.
Yeah, like these fights, these 2 fights that are at the top of this card. Let me pull their information up because I want to make sure that I say this correctly because I think it's criminal that they do this sometimes in the UFC where they put 2 guys at the top, 2 fights at the top of the card that should be the main lines from 2 different cards. Like I think Rodriguez is on like a 7-fight winning streak, if I'm not mistaken, and then Emmett has only lost 2 fights in his 20 matches. And Emmett has this weird aggressiveness where he looks like he's flailing at you, but what he's really doing is setting you up for an even bigger shot. And the reason why I wish this was a main event for another card is these 2 guys have the recipe to make a fight as explosive as we've seen in some time. Emmett himself is a guy that could be considered a knockout artist, but Yair Rodriguez has the defense and takedown ability that Emmett may not be prepared for. Which is why I'm taking Rodriguez, because I think he's going to be the guy that's going to make Emmett's wild nature make it look more like wild nature. It's not going to be as efficient against a guy like Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez is coming here with a hotter hand, even though Emmett's on a tear, and I'm going to pick Rodriguez to win this fight by a slight decision, like a split decision, something like that, where it's like, God, that was a great fight. I don't know who really won. Let's look at the card, control, takedowns, things like that's what's going to get Rodriguez this win. I'm going to go with Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember Rodriguez's last fight. He won by Ortega getting hurt. Ortega, who I think was going to win that fight. I thought he was a better fighter. Obviously, I thought he was the favorite in that fight.
Yeah, that's right. It was his last fight.
Remember we watched that one where Ortega's shoulder got
like forever.
Yeah, it was his shoulder. Yeah. He was banged up in that fight. But I actually like Emmett in this fight because I think Emmett's the better straight up fighter.
Yeah.
A better takedown artist as well. Rodriguez is a little loose with his style. Sometimes they're both orthodox fighters. But
what's the over-under of the
Emmett's definitely the underdog.
Yeah.
I already put some money on him though. I'm betting Emmett to win this fight. I think he's plus 160 or something like that. Or no, it's more than that. I believe that's ESPN's line. I don't know what DraftKings or FanDuel is, but Emmett's definitely the underdog. But I know Emmett is 18-2 in his career. A guy that can pack a punch, a guy that can take a punch, can take a beating and keep going. He's definitely a motor guy. I think he's the better fighter still until proven otherwise. I mean, Rodriguez obviously, with all due respect, is 15-3 for sure. But I just like, I know Emmett's a little smaller. I mean, there's a different height and reach advantage. Rodriguez is 5'11", Emmett's 5'6".
Josh Emmett is plus 160.
Oh, so it's almost a pick 'em.
Yes. Well, because I believe Emmett's the better fighter, and I think he's more proven in this league.
I just like the matchup for Rodriguez.
Rodriguez didn't really prove much to me after beating Ortega by Ortega getting hurt. That was just a kind of a. I felt like I thought Ortega was a better fighter, and I think he would have won that fight if they actually were both healthy and neither one of them got hurt. So
what is Ortega great at? He can take you down
for sure, but he's also he's good at everything. Honestly, he's a very well-rounded fighter. But Emmett is a guy that can knock you out, obviously, and is a very good guy on the ground. And he's strong as shit for his size. He's very strong. So he's very low sense of gravity. Like I said, he's only 5'6". He's a tank. Yeah. So I like him in this fight. I actually put money on him to win this fight, a part of a little parlay for tonight. So I like the underdogs tonight. So I'm definitely going Emmett here.
Let's go main event.
And we got to real quick. Emmett is also 7 years older too. Yeah. So age might play a factor.
Maybe.
Let's go main event on this one. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who to pick in this one. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. I think. Let's see. FanDuel,
Crazy how big of an underdog Volkanovski is.
yeah, FanDuel has Volkanovski at plus 310.
Freaking
Okay.
crazy. Give
Look,
me that all day.
Look. We talked about this weeks ago about how I feel like this is the one fight that I feel like no matter who I pick, I'm going to be wrong. Because Volkanovski is one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen.
On one of the best.
What is he on? He's like on a 20 fight win streak, something like that. Like the greatest ever. It's like the greatest streak ever.
Yep.
He's 25-1,
and he's moving up a weight too. You got to remember that. That's huge.
As the time has gone on, I still don't feel good about it. Trust me, because I've never picked against Volkanovski. But there is a reason why he's a heavy underdog. Because, like you said, Trevor, he's not only going up a weight class. Islam is quickly becoming maybe the best fighter in the UFC.
Him and Chimaev.
What he just did to Oliveira, which no one has done in like 10 years against Oliveira.
Granted, Oliveira was a fill-in fighter. He didn't prepare for him that well.
Right. But Oliveira is the greatest finisher in UFC history.
Yeah, he didn't have a camp ready for
him. And he whooped his ass.
Yeah.
So you're right. I will give you that. Yeah. He dominated him. Islam is the bigger fighter. He's the younger fighter, which oddly enough, Volkanovski, even though he's like 3 inches shorter and 10 pounds lighter, has a 1 inch reach advantage. It's kind of weird how that works. His little long arms.
Yeah.
If this fight goes to the ground at all, Islam's going to win this fight.
Yeah, don't do that.
If Volkanovski and him toe-to-toe it, Volkanovski can pull this upset off.
Well, he could definitely if he goes a distance, I'm taking Volk all day. He's gonna land more
That's
strikes.
why I have to pick Islam to finish him.
He's not gonna want to let it go that long.
He's going to have to take him to the ground and submit Volkanovski, use that body, use that weight, use that size advantage, and Volkanovski bumping up, his energy levels are going to be a little bit lower. So if you put him up against that fence, you put him on the mat for 3 minutes at a time, he won't be able to breathe correctly, wear him down where his arms aren't as fast, he gets sluggish. That's the recipe for Islam to win this fight, and I think that's exactly what he's going to do. Because if you watch Islam in his last fight, like I said, he took Oliveira to the ground and submitted him with a freaking shoulder submission, where he had his neck up against his shoulder and made him tap. That's exactly what I think he's going to try to do against Volkanovski. I love Volkanovski. If this was a catch weight, I would probably go with Volk. But Islam would have the advantage. I'm taking him, and I have to give him the respect in his own weight class. If Islam was going down a weight class to Volk, I would pick Volk. I'm going to pick Islam in this match.
This fight's in Australia.
So they're fighting for Islam's belt, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Volk's going for 2 weight classes belts. So my head and my gut want to say Islam, but my heart's saying Volk. And I'm going to go with my heart on this one.
You should go with the majority of your organs.
Yeah, well, I'm betraying my body on this one. I'm going Volk, man, and I put money on him as well. I parlayed him and Emmett together. I like the underdogs here. I like Volk because people forget how good Volk is at avoiding takedowns. He is not easy to take down. He's shorter. He's lower sense of gravity. There's a size difference between these two guys, and it's going to be tough for Islam to get low enough to get his legs. And he's quick. And he's a very great counter fighter. You swing at him, he's going to come back with 2 before you can blink. That's how great he is. So he's not the greatest knockout artist. He's really not. He packs a punch, but he's not a punisher. He's not a guy that's going to just go knock people out. He has in a career for sure. He's a guy that likes to keep you standing, come at him, and he'll balance off you. But he will land so many significant strikes. That's why I'm saying if this goes the distance, Volk is going to win this fight. It's up to Islam to get him down and beat him on the ground. That's how Islam's going to win. Granted, Islam can knock someone out too. I'm not going to act like he can't. But that's not really his fighting style either. He has but he will, man. If Islam gets the kicks going, that's scary too, though. Because Islam's got great kicks. He will chop you down. But at the same time, matchup makes fights. And I like the matchup here for Volk, actually. I think his lower sense of gravity, his speed, his ability to avoid takedowns, and his ability to check kicks. He's great at all those things. So, I mean, the strengths for both these guys match up so well. And I get why this fight is so hyped. And the fact that it's in Australia, it's in Volk's home, man. Like, there's going to be so much juice going into this fight. And I'm going with my heart on this one. I put money on Volk to win. I want Volk to win. I'm picking Volk to win.
Well, and here's the crazy thing about this fight is that one way or the other, one of these guys is going to end up looking human at the end.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe either one of these guys are human to begin
Bro,
with.
yeah. They're
So
immortals.
this is a lot like when Leon Edwards made my guy
Usman.
Usman looked like a human. That's
crazy,
still
man.
to this day one of the most shocking
Humbled that
things.
man.
Yeah,
fight's
I'm
coming
not
up soon,
rooting.
too.
Hey, for the record, I'm not rooting for either one of these guys because I love these dudes
Yeah.
as much as the other. This is such a difficult fight to pick, but I have to go with the guy that is in that weight class that I think has more advantages than the other. I'm going to stick with Islam.
All right, man. Yeah. Is there anything you guys want to ask that you guys want to probably answer?
No, let's get right to the last one, Eddie. Let's go ahead.
All right. Is MJ the GOAT?
Is that your fucking question? Okay.
Just
This is my cue to leave.
So what happened, Eddie? Go ahead and let the people know what you're going to set the question about.
I didn't even want to ask the question.
Okay.
I mean, you guys know what I want to ask, but
No,
I
go
don't
ahead.
want to ask.
Go ahead, it's your hour.
I didn't dress for the occasion for nothing.
Yeah. You dressed up for nothing.
We saw a Lakers team lose to the Thunder.
That is true. But what happened in the game, Eddie? What historic accolade was achieved in that game?
Something that I'm sure another player will probably reach.
Right. Well, what was it? What was the record?
It only took 40 years for the last one.
Yeah. So what was the record, Eddie?
More years, more games. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get to that in a second. We'll get to that. We'll just yeah. Go ahead, Eddie. So let us know what the record was.
The Lakers record?
So I'm gonna take this one for Eddie. So if you missed it, LeBron James, the greatest player who's ever played basketball, passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the all-time scoring list. He already owned the playoff record. Now he has the official regular season record with, I think it's 3,000 or 38,290 or 390, something like that. Regardless, he passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in this particular game against Eddie's Thunder. The most impressive part about it is the fact that LeBron not only did it at an actually younger age than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he did it in 150 fewer games on 3,712 fewer minutes, 480 fewer attempts, and 1,786 fewer makes. And everybody goes, well, he shot the three a lot more than Kareem. Kareem only made one three in his entire career. Trevor, why don't you go ahead and let them know that number, that little stat that you gave me, because I don't want to take it from you. You're the one that discovered it. Because this diffuses and debunks every single bit of anybody and everybody that wants to say it's the three-pointer that got LeBron this record over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Do you have it, Trevor?
Yeah, so there's 3 bulletin points. So point number 1 is LeBron will pass Kareem in fewer games, shot attempts, and minutes, which he just did. LeBron has played in 13 of the 20 slowest pace years since 1974, while Kareem played in all 15 of the fastest ever. Think about that. Kareem played in 15 of all 15 of the fastest ever paced games, which means there was more scoring opportunities at the highest rate. And the third point, if you turn all of LeBron's 3-point shots, 3-point makes into twos, the first point is still true.
In other words, the three-pointer isn't what got LeBron the record.
It's a moot point.
And you know what's funny is that I heard for so long when LeBron passed MJ in total points. What was that, like 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
When he passed MJ in points, the people said, well, he played more minutes. Well, he played more games. Well, I guess it didn't matter that he took fewer shots.
That's how points are accrued.
Yeah. And it's funny that we played more games. He took fewer shots. But now that he's done this against Kareem in fewer games, no one's saying that because they can't. They can't refute that. And it just, as my guy Nick Wright always says, when the time comes that LeBron's finally done, which I don't think is for at least another 3 or 4 years, when that time does come and he has 45,000 career points and he gets to the playoffs another 3 or 4 times and adds to those numbers he already has, there's not going to be a debate anymore. I personally stopped having the debate because I'm done with it. The debate's been over since 2016 for me. But the fact that LeBron's not only adding to these numbers as – it'd be one thing if he was like Tracy McGrady at the end of his career where he was averaging like 9-10 points and just kind of adding to the number here and there. Shaq, getting like 12, 13 points a game, just kind of adding to the number here and there. LeBron is still averaging 30 points per game. He's still averaging 8 rebounds and 7 to 8 assists a game, shooting over 50% at 38 years old in his 20th season. He's had 19 straight seasons of at least 25 points per game. To add to the insanity of that, as I talked to Mark Nettles, I've said it on the show before, guys like Luka Doncic would have to play another 18 to 20 seasons and average 27 points per game while playing all 82 games per season to just get to where LeBron is now.
He's averaging north of 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists since turning 38.
There's no more debate. There's no more debate. I know people don't like him, but as I said on Twitter the other day, and I'll say it again, when it comes to the MJ thing, which I don't even know why we're bringing him up, but I'm bringing him up.
Yeah, I'm not even.
If you and listen, just real quick,
Yeah.
if you swapped LeBron and MJ's numbers in their careers, playoffs, regular season, all that, and longevity, we're not having this discussion. If LeBron only scored 32,000 points, if he had the numbers that Michael had in the playoffs, and then Michael's done this for 20 years, no one's debating it. You know who that includes? Me. I would be saying Michael's the GOAT.
Of course.
Because the guy that's played better longer, has put up better numbers more consistently, has led fewer worse teams to the finals further.
Been to the finals many more times.
Went to the finals 9 of 10 years.
We know. The only damn people talk about the final stuff. It's only because LeBron's biggest failures happened in the finals.
And it's
MJ's happened in the first round or missing the playoffs entirely.
It was only so coincidental too that
It's easy to forget those.
people forget that MJ got drafted in like 1991. The man got drafted in 1984, and for a 7-year stretch didn't win shit because the Celtics, he couldn't even beat the Celtics for a single playoff game. Couldn't beat the Pistons until they got old. And then, the Lakers dynasty goes away. Celtics dynasty goes away. Pistons dynasty goes away. There's no more dynasties.
Beating a dead horse, man. Beating a dead horse. We know these facts.
The Bills just went on a 6 championship run. I wonder, that's coincidental. I wonder how that happened. Oh, that's just weird. It's almost like Michael Jordan won the championship every year. Oh, no, wait. No, he played 15 seasons? Wow. He only won 6 titles in 15. I thought he won every year from the way people act. Well, he would have won 8 straight if he would have retired. That's funny because I recall him coming back in 1994 and losing to the Magic in the semifinals.
They burnt the tapes.
Weird. Just weird. And I don't remember Michael Jordan looking like this at 38 years old. That's weird. But yeah, you're right. We're beating a dead horse because they ain't listening. Is that it for the Eddie Hour?
I ain't got nothing else for you on that, man.
That's a good Eddie Hour, Eddie. Thank you for letting me have that platform, Eddie. I really do appreciate that. No, James.
That just confirmed that MJ to go. Did a lot more and less.
Say, yeah, I mean, he only made the final 6 times in 15 years. LeBron's been there 11.
We appreciate the Eddie Hour. That is always my favorite time of the show. We have one more order of business to get to, guys. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish up each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's in the world of sports are friendly L's or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you. Who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports and deserve those L's in the world of sports? Mr. Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo. I'm actually going to take it from you for a second.
Oh, shit.
Because I want to get my L out there first and foremost this time.
Yes.
And it actually goes right back to what we were just talking about. And Eddie's going to love it. May 13th of 2003, the title of this email was "The NBA Draft Will Test Teams' Patience and Fortitude." Publication, the Rocky Mountain News, author David Kruger. In this article, he states, Mike D'Antoni, longtime NBA coach, is among a growing number of NBA people who believe the more interesting question is whether LeBron James, the presumptive #1 pick, will be better than Durko Milicic 5 years from now. A lot of people are saying James is good. There's no doubt about it. And they love him. But the Yugoslavian kid at 7 feet with all the things he's supposed to be able to do in those 3 or 4 years will be the better pick, D'Antoni said. Or how about John Harris, the former article writer? His title stated, "Akron's James a sure thing? Don't bank on it." All the way up to May 25th of 2015. Urkel Spaces, a verified account that talks a lot of sports, said, quote, "LeBron is 30. The fuckery won't go on for much longer, thank God." And now look at us, 8 years later. The fuckery still continues, Eddie. Every single person that ever doubted LeBron James, who is the greatest athlete who has ever lived, and I don't give a shit who that offends, it is a factual statement, and I live and exist in the world of facts. a man that's put together 20 years of a masterpiece of a career, like our guy Brian Windhorst from ESPN, who has followed LeBron's career before he even started in the NBA, stated that if you want to say the 6-year stretch of dominance that MJ had, if that's why you think he's the greatest ever, he won't fight you on it. But if you want to sit here and say that anyone has been greater for a longer period of time and has played the game of basketball at a higher level than LeBron James, you are mistaken. There is no one that has done it for this long at this high of a level like LeBron James, unlike LeBron James. He stands alone in every category known to the NBA, known to the game of basketball, known to mankind. That is not hyperbolic. That is a fact. And these people were wrong, and people will continue to be wrong about LeBron James because I don't think he's going to slow down until he's in his 40s. So for everybody that did that, for everybody that continues to do that, even present company included, do me a solid and hold this L. And yours is Mr. Yo. Who's holding the L for you this week, and why is it F1?
Not F1. That was last week. This week I'm gonna give it to Manchester City, a soccer club out in England, the Premier League. They have been charged by the Premier League for multiple financial fair play breaches.
Oh, shit.
And these are over 9 straight seasons where they've broken the financial fair play rule. And in the 9 seasons, they haven't won shit, and they fucking gotten massive players. Obviously, they got Haaland, which is one of the best strikers in the world currently in this stage. Now with Messi and Ronaldo on their way out, you got the likes of Mbappe and Haaland, but Haaland is in Manchester City. Even with all that cheating, even with all that rule breaking, they've only won the Premier League. They haven't won shit outside of the Premier League. Champions League, they can't seem to get it done. The year they thought they had it was 2021 against who? Against Chelsea. They were like, oh, easy. Our first Champions League. And a lot of people pick Man City because they're the more talented roster. They have the better depth, the better anything against Chelsea with a bunch of young team. It was a young team. Obviously, their objectives weren't as high, but they managed to get to the finals. And guess what happened? They beat Manchester City. So breaking all these financial fair play rules, doing all this thing to ensure you win Champions League, which at the end of the day, every club in Europe wants to win a Champions League. You still can't get it done. Now you've been charged. Now you are risking relegation or just losing points or being fined tremendous amounts of money. Man, Manchester City, you're going to have to do me a favor and
hold this L. You don't pay to be Shade A. Trevor Tootle, who's holding the L for you this week?
All right, so we touched on a lot of the movement, the NBA trade deadline and movements around the league. There was one move in particular we did touch on a little bit with the Lakers acquiring D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt. There's one guy in particular that they acquired that might stir a little bit of pot stirring in the locker room of the Lakers with the newest acquisition of Malik Beasley, because they do have the Lakers do have Scottie Pippen Jr. on the roster. Who's been a rotational guy who's just not really played much, but is a rotational guy, maybe a guy for the future that could become something, possibly the son of a great player. But many of you may know, many of you may not know. Larsa Pippen, who's the ex-wife of Scottie Pippen, dated Malik Beasley for some time, and I don't know about you guys. It'd be a little awkward for me if I was playing basketball with a guy that dated my mom, who's not that much older than me. It'd be a little strange scenario. So I'm gonna. I mean, do I need to say much more? I don't think I need to say that much more. With the tension that's probably in that locker right now between those two players. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
You don't think maybe there's a conversation that was had before the trade went down?
I would imagine, maybe, but I mean, I don't even know if the Lakers honestly did their due diligence on that. They're just like, Lake's a good player. How the
Lakers are like, we're bringing your mom's boyfriend.
Yeah,
bringing your stepdaddy in.
So Scottie Pippen Jr., you're not going to be sharing balls with a guy your mom also shared balls with. Do me a favor and hold this out.
Balls. There you go, Trevor. That's the way to end this episode.
Balls. It's all ball game in the end.
Jesus Christ. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We've been powering through this. no matter how I felt, no matter how Trevor felt or Eddie, what experiences he went through last night, we were not going to not have a show this week. It's far too important because we have the biggest game, not just of the season, but I think of the Mahomes era that's happening in this game because of how much is going to be riding on this one, how much is going to change legacy-wise if it goes the way we expect it to. But I mean it when I say I am more confident about this one than I had been in the previous two. When the Chiefs won that first one, obviously I felt good about that game, but I knew this was a very proven 49ers team that all season long was going up against good offenses and good teams who were still winning. And I was like, man, this team can very well beat this Chiefs team. But I felt good. And then the Buccaneers game, like, the Chiefs have a horrible offensive line completed, but maybe Andy Reid can have found something over these last 2 weeks. We saw that win. Mm-hmm. Now, Chiefs are such a more mature team, even though ironically they have such a younger team than they did the previous years. This team's galvanized, and I think they have so many mismatches in the most important positions in this matchup that makes me believe this team's going to take care of business. And I feel very good about what's about to take place in about 24, 25, 26 hours from now. But regardless, we're glad you guys were here for the duration of the show to hear out what we had to say. And we love that we had people chiming in and chiming out on what we had to say and what we had to talk about when it came to this game and stuff outside of even this game and other parts of this game. That's what the show's about. And we definitely appreciate you guys. And I know you're probably thinking, well, football season will be over after this. What are you guys going to do? If you're new here, trust me when I say we find ways to make this thing work. We do the show year round because there's sports to be talked about year round. Maybe we have to get a little more creative when it comes to content, because football is what we talk about primarily. But trust me when I say we will make sure you guys have shows to sit on, to listen to chime in on. That's what we do here. And I just want you guys to know that, put that at ease, and let your friends know, man, that this is what we do every single week. Have them subscribe, have them become a part of the spoken community, man, because that's what we do. That's what we are here for, is to grow this thing so more people feel like they have a voice. It isn't just for us to get our opinions out there. We want to hear from you guys as well. Eddie, do you have something to add before you want to go in there? Okay, awesome. Well, you guys know what we have on this game. Let us know what you guys think. We still have, like I said, over 24 hours to still discuss this. We have Facebook. You see on the bottom of the screen, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Hit us up on all those platforms, or hit us up on YouTube primarily. We'd love to hear how you guys think this game is going to go down. So for Clay Windler, for the great Clay Windler who puts all this on the back end, puts all of it together, he is our wizard to the Oz. For Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, Mr. Yo-Yo-Yo, I am Lance Twidwell. Episode 205 of the Spoken Podcast is done, finished, and finito. And until we're here in 1 week's time talking about Patrick Mahomes winning his second ring and what this is going to mean to his legacy, we out of this bitch.
Later.